All right, we getting rolling on the Krueger show after Warrior basketball. Warriors, if they were at home, they would have won. But instead they were on the road, and they lost. Seems like we've been saying that all year. The Warriors are awesome at home. The Warriors suck on the road. I mean, there's just no way around it.
Saving it for the playoffs. Watch them.
29-7 at home, 7-27 on the road.
And that's 9 losses in a row, Larry. On the road.
9 losses in a row on the road, and they'll try to make it 10 Friday in Atlanta against the Atlanta Hawks. All right, welcome to the Pig and a Pickle Krueger Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. Check them out. Best barbecue in Northern California. They're in Corte Madera, open 7 days a week. They're also in Emeryville, open Wednesday through Sunday. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in Northern California. More on them in a bit, but let's welcome in our group tonight, the great Frank Red on the bottom of the screen. Frank, good to see you.
Likewise, good to see everybody.
Ballers in the house with the Niner logo and the Warrior mask. I like that. Danny's in the house, live from Arizona, where, believe it or not, the rain is a-fallen. And Rye may be joining us. Cyrus is going to be joining us after he stops being locked on Golden State basketball. And the Warriors lose this one 134-126, despite 50 from Steph Curry, who was outstanding tonight. And it just seems like Kawhi Leonard against the Warriors just looks awesome. And Kawhi just is playing really good ball. I mean, you heard the guys at the end of the game. The Clippers are 16-9 in the last 25 games that Kawhi has taken the floor. And they're suddenly
Kawhi's a Warrior killer.
He's a Warrior killer.
He's just a Warrior killer.
And Paul George with the big dagger three at the end, and Clippers improved their bench. These teams are still right there. I mean, Golden State's 36-34. They're the 6th seed. Clippers are 37-33. They're the 5 seed. Golden State's got 12 games left, 7 on the road, 5 at home. And as Baller just said, they've lost 9 in a row on the road. Let's go around the room and give our primary takeaways from this one. Why don't we start with you, Danny? 134-126, Clippers get the win. Give me your primary takeaway.
Yeah, primary takeaway, 2 out in the World Baseball Classic. I just say that. 1 more out to go. USA advances. The first 2 outs, a stellar play at third base by Arenado, and then a ball hit down the right field line that Mookie Betts tracked down. Superstars win ball games for you, man. But the basketball game tonight, the Warriors, I can't really fault the Warriors too much because they played well. Clippers shot the ball really, really well. If the Warriors lost the game, it was in 2 areas: turnovers and giving up offensive rebounds to the Clippers. They turned the ball over way too many times. Clippers didn't. And I think the Clippers had like 16 offensive rebounds.
Yeah.
And it probably resulted in 25 points, I bet. Because
27.
Okay. I'm just guessing. I didn't even look at the stats. It's just kind of like that was the difference. That was the difference tonight. If the Warriors had rebounded, had they just only given up 10 to 12 points on second chance and not turned the ball over, I don't know how many turnovers, 16, whatever it was, 17. I mean, that's empty possessions. If you hit on 5 of those, you're going to get 10 to 12 points. I mean, they gave up between the offensive rebounds and turnovers, they lost over 20 points difference. So that was my takeaway. And the final thing I'll say is I think the best spot for them is to finish in the 6th seed, because then you get maybe Memphis in round 1. And then if you win that round, then you maybe play Sacramento, and then maybe Denver knocks off Phoenix or the Clippers, and then you face Denver and in the finals. And I think they can, at that point, I think they're, full speed, and I think they take them. So I think, there's a silver lining in it, finishing tonight in 6th, staying 6 would be better. Because if you finish 5, you're going to be on the road against probably Phoenix or the Clippers. And I don't think that's the place you want to be in the first round on the road.
Frank, or go ahead, Baller.
I didn't think the Warriors played with enough urgency tonight. I mean, Russell Westbrook absolutely killed them on the offensive glass. I was screaming at my television, get a body on Westbrook. And I'm looking at Jordan Poole. I want some more physicality out of Jordan Poole. You know, he needs to box out better. I thought he was responsible for a couple of those offensive rebounds. Terrence Mann kind of big brothered him on an offensive possession where he got the offensive board. Jordan Poole's got to box out. You got to hit somebody. But Steph Curry, he was absolutely sensational tonight. He had it going from everywhere on the court. 3-point range. He's attacking the rim, mid-range, the step backs. Steph Curry was big time, but someone else has to step up. And unfortunately, we didn't get that tonight. The Warriors, they got beat on the glass. Clippers, you know, Zubats. What did Zubats finish with? Like 18 points and a bunch of rebounds. I got it right here. 16 boards,
19 and 16 is what he had.
5 offensive boards. I mean, Zubats was insane. And I was saying, get Looney back on the court. I know Looney felt like I thought in the fourth quarter, Looney should have been on the court because Zubats was going to work. And we know how good of a rebounder Looney is. But overall, I mean, it was a frustrating performance. We know these two teams are jockeying for position in the Western Conference. And unfortunately, besides Steph Curry, they didn't bring it.
Frank, what'd you think? What was your primary takeaway tonight?
A lot of what I'm hearing tonight, I saw throughout the game. It was frustrating to watch at times because I think the Warriors were competitive, and the game was in the balance within a couple of minutes. When Steph Curry went out of the game, late third, early fourth, I can't quite remember what it was, and Jordan Poole was in there. The word is out on Jordan Poole. Like I've been saying that the whole season. Be very physical with him. I'm sure Ty Lue and B. Shaw told Terrence Mann and whomever else was out there, kick his tail because he's not going to match your physicality. And with that said, I don't want to hamper too much on Jordan because I thought that he played a pretty good game. But the physicality and the tough man basketball that we're all waiting for him to play on a consistent basis, like a Dante DiVincenzo, he didn't really bring that tonight. But I think he can build on that. I'm frustrated because they don't have size, man. And anybody who thinks
it showed tonight, Frank. It showed.
I mean, it's going to show continuously because the teams that they're playing are really, really good teams. The Clippers are not a good matchup for the Warriors. They can beat them, but they're not a great matchup for them. The one area in which they can improve is they gave up 48% field goal percentage with a host of offensive rebounds on the road. That's not horrible. They gave up 47% from the three-point line. They got to do a better job closing out. If they do that, I think they can possibly win. But overall, this is not a great matchup for them. Nobody can check Kawhi Leonard. That dude, when he's at his best, is a top 10 player in this league. So I give the Warriors a lot of credit. But this is one of the few times that Steve Kerr has a formidable guy on the other side of the court. Ty Lue is as good a coach as Steve Kerr. And he made several adjustments throughout the game to right the ship for the Clippers. And they deserve this win. But the Warriors played well enough to beat probably 6 out of 10 teams that they would play on a normal basis.
You know, one takeaway I had was just that you got to play better defense on Russell Westbrook. How does Westbrook, who's plays 27 minutes and dishes out 7 assists, he doesn't turn it over the entire night? No turnovers.
Wow.
That was frustrating. You have to be – this guy turns the ball over a lot. You got to turn him over. You got
pretty hard not to turn it over, though, when he's not being guarded.
Oh, I know. But and he killed you on the glass. He had 9 boards, 7 assists. But that was one takeaway. The other takeaway for me was just third quarter. I mean, the foul shooting in the third quarter, Golden State did not shoot a single free throw in the third quarter. Clippers shot 12 and made 10. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't, you have to defend without fouling, and you can't have that level of a disparity going to the line. That was huge. That was huge. And then I thought the other thing that was huge is, Warriors cut it to, I think, about a 3-point game, early fourth, and then Clippers on a 10-1 run, and you look up, it's 109-97. And, the game it wasn't over right then. There was still a lot of game to be played, but it just felt like it was over. And that, to me, that was the big pushback. Because if Golden State had, gone from 3 down to, taking a lead or another momentum swing in their favor, maybe this game would have been more competitive. The fact that Clippers just quickly answered with that 10-1 run, it was kind of a done deal at that point. I mean, the rest of it was just frustrating to watch. And the offensive glass, I mean, Zubac, I don't know. I always put more credence in the players who play well against Golden State, but Zubac is one of those guys. I mean, 19 and 16 and a block and a +10 from Zubac. If they're getting big points out of Zubac and Man, the Warriors are gonna have a hard time beating them ever. Whether it's there, here, anywhere.
That's why I say if they can avoid because the 4-5, if they could stay in that 6 seed, I think that's their best opportunity to advance, because you got Memphis or Sacramento 2-3, and if you could get by the 3, then you're going to play the 2 seed most likely, and then you can get by there, and now you're getting some momentum. And I just think that makes the most sense. If they can finish 4 or 6, if they finish, I think 5's the worst spot they can end up, or 7, in the play-in. But if you're gonna be, 4 or 6 is the best to me.
But that's all out of your control, though, right, Dan?
It totally is. They have no way of knowing. They could win games and still finish, They don't know where they're going to finish.
Yeah, what you want is them playing a good brand of basketball.
Oh, totally. I mean, they've got to be and I don't know if they're ever going to get there if GP2 doesn't come back really healthy, able to play, and Wiggins makes it back. If Wiggins, we said it the other night, they're not winning a championship without Wiggins. Just forget it. They'll be lucky to win a first-round matchup without Wiggins.
I think they're close, actually. I mean, I don't expect Steph to do what he did tonight, but man, they had the Clippers reeling, and because of Ty Lue's excellent coaching and the excellent players that they had, they were able to withstand the Warriors' push. But everybody doesn't have Kawhi Leonard. Everybody doesn't have a Paul George. They got other weapons, but I thought the Warriors played pretty good basketball tonight, and
I did too.
We mentioned the glaring areas that they have, and they got to try to fix those. 3-point shooting, 47%. They got to hold teams in the 30s. They can do that because those closeouts were not great, and they need to be more physical. They got to be more physical.
Yeah.
Well, how many open threes did Eric Gordon get tonight?
Yeah,
it's like Kawhi Leonard's so good. He commands a lot of attention, but if you're going to have those defensive rotations, it's got to be on a string. You got to be getting out to shoot. Eric Gordon is getting wide open looks. Eric Gordon's been a really good player in the NBA for a long time. So he's 4 for 8 from threes, and a lot of them, no one was within 10 feet of him.
Wasn't his shot used to be in the corner?
I was just going to say they improved their bench a lot at the deadline. I mean, Bones Highland didn't play tonight, but you added Highland, you added Gordon, you added Plumlee. Suddenly the Clippers have a lot more firepower. The other thing that jumped out, what do you guys think of that stat I've got there on the bottom of the screen? Fish and Chips says the Warriors, and this is true, I looked this up, 0-21 on the road when trailing at the end of the third quarter. What does that stat tell you guys?
Tells you they suck on the road.
Tells you they're using too much energy to get back into games that they're falling behind, and they have nothing left going into the fourth quarter. If they could get out and get a lead like they did the other night against Phoenix on the road, they're going to win the game. But when you're down or you're fighting and you're down 4, down 5, and then you go down, you you tie it up. All of a sudden, you're down 10. You expend all this energy like they did tonight. Remember, they got down by 10 or 11, and then all of a sudden, Steph went crazy, brought them to within 2. Clippers at the end of the third, all of a sudden pushed it back up to 8 or 9. And it's like, you're kind of dead. You can't keep coming back when you're expending energy. Takes too much out of you. You have no momentum from the crowd to push you on that gives you that, that adrenaline rush. So that's the problem. That's why they're 0-21. It's because they're constantly getting down and they're fighting. They're not ahead in games on the road. They're not going up double digits in games.
They're digging themselves a first quarter hole, Danny. It's amazing.
All the time.
I mean, it's not even like it is the rule. I mean, the first tonight was not. I mean, tonight's game, what was it? 28-23. They're only down 5 at the end of the first quarter, but many first quarters, they're just getting bombed. Mark Graves says the Fab Four. I believe Mark sent me the hat, the SF hat. Danny, that SF hat that you have?
Which color you got?
He sent me a black one with black and white.
Black and white. Oh, I've seen that one. That's a nice one. It looks good.
Too. Now, who makes that hat? I mean, what's the deal with that hat? Is it a football hat? Is it a baseball hat? Or is it a
residency?
Residency is the company.
Residency is who makes it.
And they make them, and they've got several different models. I don't know what the name of that one is. I have to look it up. But the black, Graves probably knows what it is. But they've got, they got the candlestick, they've got the city, they got like 20 names for them.
Yeah. Trent Williams was wearing the beige one with the red.
I have that one. Yeah.
You have that one. Don't you also have the red? You have the orange and black one, right?
I have the orange and black, which is Giants, and I've got the blue and the gold SF, which is for the Warriors.
Yeah. It's a good looking lid. Thank you, Graves. Senior softball games. Good panel tonight. Let's light this effing beam. All right, we'll get to that. Outside of the Warriors tonight, Kings beat the Bulls in Chicago. The Kings are 41-27. It was 117-114. If you want to see the worst foul call in the history of the world,
4-point play
against Harrison Barnes, did you see
that?
It
was a phantom foul.
I mean, if he breathed on him, I would be shocked. I mean, there was no contact. I mean, Baller, you got to look at this. I mean, there's zero contact at all. And then they reviewed it and didn't overturn it.
Yeah.
No.
So I don't know maybe they think he grazed him on the elbow. But the Kings win again. So light the F.
See how they won? See how they won after the 4-point play? They were up 117-113. Hits the 3. And then they call the foul, the phantom foul, and he ties it up. The Kings have the ball with 6-7 seconds left, whatever, 8. Fox just kind of casually walks it up the court, gets into his rhythm, and nails a dagger 3 with 0.7 seconds left on the clock.
Wow. So Sacramento wins tonight.
Replay. Not to cut you off. I'm looking at the replay. We're talking about the DeRozan shot at the top of the key.
Yeah.
And so the angle basketball breakdown is the first one that came. It's a great angle. There is some contact on the elbow. It's very slight.
Very slight. Very
slight. But
so the Kings win tonight. The NCAA tournament begins officially tomorrow. I definitely want to hear who your guys' Final Four is. The Niners were active again today, signing Clelin Ferrell away from the Raiders and the cornerback Isaiah Oliver away from the Atlanta Falcons. Danny's down in the desert. Giants have the split squad today. Giants, Chi Sox, and Giants D-backs, both of them canceled because of the rain. Giants now 7-11 through 18 Cactus League games. And we do have a number of NFL notes that are interesting. Commanders have signed Jacoby Brissett. Bengals signed big Orlando Zeus Brown. So he's now in Cincy.
That's a big
Cowboys
move for the Bengals.
cut Zeke Elliott today. Panthers take Miles Sanders away from the Eagles. He's now in Carolina. Eagles re-signed Fletcher Cox and Darius Slay. Saints added Jamal Williams. And the Patriots signed running back James Robinson, who was in Jacksonville. We got this super chat, or this chat, not super chat, but Brian says, Krug, this is a Jordan Poole issue. This guy has to go next year. He turns the ball over. He creates stupid fouls. It's got to stop. Where are you guys with Jordan Poole? I think they dramatically overpaid him. And when I said that earlier this year, I got like 5 different people jumping down my throat. Well, you haven't considered this and that. And I'm like, dude, I've watched this guy's whole career. I saw him in Michigan. He had a nice little run in the tournament, but he ain't worth the kind of money that they're paying him. It's ridiculous. He plays no defense, and I felt like he played more defense before he got paid than usually you get paid, and you're like, all right, now I'm gonna go hard at both ends. No, he saves his energy for the offensive end, and it's pretty clear. What'd you guys think of Poole's effort tonight, and how bad a defensive player do you guys think he is?
The worst guard on the team, defensively, and again, man, I love the root for players to be successful, and I'm not saying that he won't become what people think that he can be, but right now, he's like a deer in headlights, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because he's in the scouting report. He wasn't in the scouting report last year. This is a talented guy. And, he make a bunch of threes, and people are like, gosh, I didn't know he could shoot. Now he's in the scouting report, and beyond that, he got the referees against him. So there were 3 or 4 calls tonight in which there were contact, but because he is not respected by the referees, he does not get the marginal calls. The turnovers are ridiculous. Kerr tried to bring him back a little bit after playing DiVincenzo all those minutes, and he just didn't produce. I'm not going to give up on him because they can't win without him, but he doesn't look like a $30 million player. That's for sure.
There's no doubt about that. Baller, what do you think? 95.7 Brian says, I hate to be the negative guy, but the Warriors aren't going to beat anyone when they give up 130-plus points in a regular season game or a playoff game. Pitiful defense tonight. I just think they look so, the word when a team's playing good ball defensively as a team is connected. Mm-hmm. They look so disconnected.
I agree. The rotations are slow. There's too many open shooters. And when we're talking Jordan Poole, I understand you can shop the guy. You're only going to accept a trade offer that you really feel like is going to help you because Jordan Poole's talented. But what I want to see him do, I want to see him do less. When I see him out there, he's pounding the rock. It's not Warriors basketball a lot of the time with Jordan Poole, at least what we've been accustomed to seeing with the ball zipping around, guys coming off screens. With Jordan, it's a lot of ISO. It's a lot of tough shots off the dribble, step backs. So I want Jordan to do less, let the game come to him. And I think the efficiency would go up because, as we know, the three-point field goal, the field goal percentage isn't where we want it. So I want him to do less. Take the open shots. Quit trying to force it.
Yeah. He's best when he's driving, when he's got an open lane. When he tries to do all the herky jerk behind the back, between the legs, dribbles when the lane's clogged, he constantly loses control of the ball and turns it over. That's where I think you're talking about.
But 1 out of those 10 times, Dan, he does make that spectacular play, right?
Yeah.
And then Twitter gets hype about it, but more often than not, it's not a winning basketball.
That's when you're talking about not playing Warrior basketball. If he's got a step on the guy and he's got an open, lane, and he can either take it all the way to the hole or dish it to the, when they converge on him, that's one thing. But when he tries to dribble through 3 guys, what he's better off doing is just, if he's dribbling down lane, pass it off and then run and go behind the screen and go to the corner. But
that's what Steph Curry does.
Exactly. But he doesn't do that. He instead he tries to, between the legs, spin, and he just inadvertently always turns it over. And it not only does it kill the offense of flow, but like you said, it results in a turnover. The Warriors have always been best when they're constantly moving the ball. There's been plays recently where all 5 guys have touched the ball, and then there's either a layup or an open 3. Just move it. And they get away from that when Poole's in there a lot because he starts dominating.
He's a ball
And,
stopper. He's a
yeah.
ball stopper. Senior softball says, effing love Frank. Dude's a realist and always has a great take. Always has a great take? Always? Come on, even Frank misses some. I'm just busting.
No, I do.
95.7 Brian says, primary takeaway from tonight is the Warriors badly miss Wiggins and GP2, especially on the defensive perimeter.
Oh, yeah.
And then we got this one I think is kind of interesting from Tyler. He says, Warriors aren't winning shit this year because their defense is atrocious on the road, plus Jordan Poole is soft as tissue. The one thing I see with Jordan Poole, guys, and tell me if you see the same thing, is he doesn't seem like he plays well with Steph Curry. I mean, that's another weird thing. You paid this guy this much money, and he's really his best run has been that period of time that he had at the end of last year when he was on the floor without Curry. And it's like, that's the part that's probably the most baffling. They're going to pay him a ton of cash, and he really, the best basketball he's ever played was when Curry's out for an extended period of time. And it almost looks like he feels, I'm not saying that Curry gives him a glare, but I think he feels kind of, I don't know, kind of confined on the floor when he knows when the ball's cycling around that if Curry's out there and he's at all open or even sort of covered, it's got to cycle to him. And he knows that. So I just think that he plays with kind of constraints and he plays uncomfortable when Curry's on the floor because Curry is Curry. But that's a major problem. I mean, you got to play comfortably with the biggest star on the team, the guy who's going to get the biggest minutes in the fourth quarter. I just think Jordan Poole to me looks like he's great when Steph's gone, but when Steph's out there, I don't think he's nearly as effective playing with him. What do you guys see?
That's true. I mean, there's a hierarchy on the Golden State Warriors, and everybody knows it. And, Clay doesn't overtly defer to Steph. He's a confident player, but everybody knows, if Steph is open, you should be thinking about getting him the ball. And Jordan Poole is conflicted by that, and he should not be conflicted by that. He should be a confident player, but he should always acquiesce to Steph if Steph has a better situation. And I do think that Steph kind of gives him a glare. People look at Steph like he's this gregarious, oh, golly shucks guy. No, Steph will cut your tongue out, man. He will. And I think that there's some of that happening on the court. Look at Draymond playing with Steph. Draymond acquiesces to Steph Curry 100 out of 100 times. And Jordan Poole, for some reason, doesn't feel he needs to do that. But it's only going to make him a better player if he does it, because he'll have less heat on him in those real high opportune moments where he's failing at. Steph doesn't fail in those moments.
I bet you anything, guys, if we chased it down, we'd find out that the real reason that James Wiseman's a Piston is Steph Curry.
Wow. That's a hot take.
We've heard that, though, throughout the year.
I believe it. I really believe it. I think Steph has that kind of influence, that kind of respect, that kind of clout. And, if he expressed frustration with the big man, that's probably all it would take. 95.7 Brian says it's insane to think that the Warriors just shot 55% from the field and 47% from the arc and still lost by double digits. That kind of goes back to what Danny was saying at
Clippers
the beginning. It's
were hot.
They got hammered though on the glass and on turnovers and then didn't get to the foul line at all in the third quarter. I mean, it's if you had, I asked you guys this the other day, but I'll ask you to once again. If you had to, it's a night by night thing at this point in the West. Who's your team coming out of the West? I think we saw them tonight. I think it's the Clippers.
No, I'm going with Denver. I'm
You
going
like
with
Denver?
Denver.
Okay.
I've been riding the Denver train. I think they're supremely talented. Jokic, Aaron Gordon's playing probably some of the best basketball of his career. Really, he's playing in the paint where you've always wanted him. In the past, Aaron Gordon's always been enamored with the perimeter, probably a little too much. Now he's living in the paint using his athleticism. Jamal Murray, who we know missed all of last year, he's back. Jamal Murray's a phenomenal, he's like a combo guard, the way I see Jamal. Then you got Michael Porter, who's just an X factor. That I'm rolling with Denver.
I think the Golden State Warriors or the LA Clippers. Those two teams are the most balanced. Clippers are more balanced than the Warriors. But if the Warriors can fix a couple of things, I think that they'll be in there to either lose it or to win it. Denver doesn't have a small forward. And at the top of the list, all of these teams are excellent man-to-man defensive teams. You can squeeze Jamal outside and you can squeeze Jokic on the blocks. But you can't really double team a wing player who can navigate the basketball, shoot from the perimeter, and finish. They don't have a guy like that. They're very boxy, particularly late in the shot clock. So, I mean, they're talented. They could win, but I don't think Denver's going to win.
The one thing about Golden State, I definitely want Danny's thought on that too, but the one thing about Golden State that I notice is that when you take GP2 off the floor, think of last year's team. Now you think of this year's team. When you take GP2 off the floor and Kuminga's not in a I'm going to the glass kind of a mode, they're got to be the slowest team in the entire league to, the deep three misses, loose balls in the middle of the floor. Think of the lateral quickness or the lack of lateral quickness for Draymond Green, Kevon Looney,
the hustle guy, but
Klay Thompson, Jermichael Green, Baldwin. There's not, a guy like GP2 can cover for those guys because he gets to so many loose balls. He's such a good pursuer of the basketball. They just don't have a lot of quickness off the deep missed threes. They don't defend the three-point line well, and then they don't rebound the ball off missed threes well, and teams get in other possessions, and it starts to break you down. They start to get broken down by the second chance looks these other teams get. I mean, that's one thing I'm taking away. I don't see Golden State. Maybe it's a lack of urgency. Maybe it's a lack of quickness. Maybe it's a lack of a particular player, but they do not seem quick to the deep, to the long rebound that goes in the middle of the floor. Other teams are just right to that ball. They're slow to that ball and they're losing there. Danny,
they're not a very fast team. They're not.
Yeah, I still like the Warriors in the West. Yeah. I'm with I think I'm with Red. I think it's the Warriors or Clippers. The Suns are kind of a mystery because of Durant. We don't know what they're going to be like if he's going to. The problem I see with the Suns is their depth got really wiped out in that trade. Giving up Bridges and who was the other?
Cam Johnson.
Yeah, Cam Johnson, the kid from North Carolina. Those were two of their real better players, role players that were important. They were both lockdown type defenders. I think that's going to hurt the Suns. And so I think it's the Warriors, Clippers, and Denver. If the Warriors don't win it, I would love to see Sacramento kind of shock. And the way they keep playing, they're getting more confidence winning road games and winning close road games. They may not have playoff experience, but they're playing tight games and winning them.
Let me ask you one question. Teams are allowing De'Aaron Fox to be the star that he is right now, but he's basically being played one-on-one. All right? They're going to choke him off in the playoffs. Who's going to be the second guy on the Kings that's going to step up who's capable of scoring 30 points?
Herder can hit the open three.
It's got to be Malik Monk.
Malik
yeah,
Monk.
I mean that has to happen. And,
Herder can hit the shots. The kid
Davion.
The kid they drafted
Keegan Murray.
Good player.
Keegan Murray is like he's been the perfect fit for their system.
Yeah, they're good. They're really balanced. They're really good. But I know that these great coaches are going to take the ball out of De'Aaron Fox's hands and make someone else prove that they can take that leadership role. And we really haven't seen that on a consistent basis this year. Fox has been great. When Fox doesn't play well, the Kings generally don't win. So, it's going to be interesting in the playoffs to see what happens.
Did you see Lyles put his hand around, was it Brook Lopez's throat?
Oh, yeah. That was
Now, what the heck was Lyles doing the other day? He's defending who was he defending? He pushed him. Oh, it was Giannis. He pushed Giannis.
Well,
and
that
Giannis
was
just kind of went into the backcourt. And then Brooke Lopez is like, hey, young fella. And then all of a sudden Lyles loses his ass and is grabbing Brooke Lopez around the neck, and a kind of a little mini brawl started. And I mean, Lyles lost his S. I don't know what he just lost his mind. I don't know what he was doing.
Here's what happened. The game was over.
Right.
And I saw Michael Wilbon discuss this. Giannis ran out the clock, and he intentionally, Wilbon says that Giannis was the instigator. He dribbled the ball over and just walked right in front of Lyles. He could have just dribbled and just ran out the clock, but he intentionally kind of walked and just went right in front of Lyles, and Lyles tried to get the ball or something, and just like, and then he just gave him a push. Lopez didn't like the push, and then Lyles grabbed Lopez's neck, and then Lopez reached out and got Lyles. So to me, it was Giannis being kind of a punk. You know, he could have just, and Wilbon says he does it all the time. And it's just like, it was not necessary. The game was over. You know, usually you see those guys, they dribble over the half court line and they just stand there, dribble it out, and then give the ball to the ref. He just, if you watch it, he's taking a beeline right to go and agitate Lyles.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
808 Niner says when GP2 comes back, Poole isn't getting more than 10 minutes in the playoffs. His defense is atrocious. We got this one from Alex from the ATL. He says, I challenge you to look out for this. Every time Jordan Poole drives to the bucket, doesn't get a foul, he immediately commits a dumb foul on the defensive end of the floor at the Krueger show. I've noticed that as well. Have you guys noticed that? I mean,
every time
it's like he
looks at the ref though. He looks at the ref first.
He does a lot of this. He does a lot of
yeah. I mean, what's
going on? What's going on? And, he doesn't. The refs. I don't know if the refs don't like Poole, but they don't give him calls.
Oh, they don't. Terrence Mann pulled Jordan Poole down right in front of the official, and the official just let it go because it's like Jordan Poole's hitting the deck so many times, it's hard to differentiate when it's legitimate or when he's flopping. So when Terrence Mann actually did pull him down and got the offensive rebound and the putback, that was actually the play Jordan Poole should have just boxed him out, and that wouldn't even happened. But he's like allergic to any kind of contact. It's like basketball is a contact sport. Shot goes up, you got to find somebody to box out. Hasn't registered with Poole yet.
We got this one, senior softball games. Frank Unleashed is great. He needs his own channel too. Yeah, Frank one day will probably have his own channel. We should probably at this point promote everybody's channel. Bay Area Baller 18 is where you can find Bay Area Baller's channel, right? Bay Area Baller on YouTube.
That's right.
Bay Area Baller 18.
I just put out the 49ers signed Javon Hargrave. I've been cutting up his tape, his all 22, Larry.
Okay.
So if you wanted, for instance, if you wanted to see some Javon Hargrave all 22, him beating guys, sacking quarterbacks, I just cut it up. It's on my channel.
Awesome. So Bay Area Baller 18. Dan Coach Emilio here, bottom screen's got the NorCal Sports Network channel, which we promoted the other night. For a live stream after the Warrior game the other night. Danny, once again, can tell people, because it's funny, I typed in now I'm a subscriber, but I typed in a couple times NorCal Sports Network, and it did not go to your channel. It went to some NorCal Sports
TV. Yeah,
so
you just got to scroll down. Is
that? But I typed in network.
Sometimes it'll just pop up and it's just right below Sports TV because they've got more subscribers. They've been around longer. They got 14,000 or whatever.
It's only a matter of time till Dan surpasses.
So they think that people want to go
NorCal Sports Network. Yeah, NorCal, one word, and Sports Network. You'll see the logo. It says NorCal.
It's the California state flag with the bear.
It's got a bunch of Giants interviews up there. So yeah, it's we've had some guests on. Marty Lurie joined us. Larry joined us. Blake Sable, the Giants, joined us. We're working on a couple of other big guests, like some major guests if they hit. So
don't give it away. Don't give it away.
Yeah.
Mark Lopez says, Larry, I'm devastated. Curry's having one of, if not his best years, and it's going to go to waste. No defense and no size. Westbrook was grabbing rebounds like he was Charles Barkley. It's infuriating. Yeah, tonight was a frustrating game to watch. I'll say this. Watching the Warriors on the road is not a good vibe. I mean, you just feel it's like impending doom.
Mm-hmm.
You just expect to lose. And, I kind of wonder, you win enough games, you expect to win. But the converse of that is you lose enough games, you're expecting to lose. The fact of the matter is they have not won a game all year where they've trailed entering the fourth quarter on the road. I mean, that's not good. Now, Cy's going to join us after he finishes his Locked On, and he's probably going to complain about Kerr. Can we go around the room and guess what Cy's maybe we should even wager. Can we all wager $1 on what's Cy's
Jerome
biggest
tonight,
complaint
so
tonight?
You can cross off Ty Jerome because I didn't see him on the floor.
Can't complain about Anthony Lamb.
No.
You can't complain about Ty Jerome. I think he's going to blame Kerr.
I'm saying he wants more Kuminga minutes. How many minutes did Kuminga play?
I'm going to say he's going to say that Kuminga didn't get in there soon enough.
He's coming off the ankle. I just remembered that. So there was first game back off the ankle.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can go to that one.
But, I mean, the size of the Clippers has bothered the Warriors a lot. And I could see Cy saying, hey, what the hell? Where's Kuminga? That would be my guess. Red, what do you think?
I think he's going to complain about the 16 turnovers, but they actually didn't turn the ball over that much in the second half. But he's going to harp on the turnovers and offensive rebounds. That's what I think.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Same thing.
Hey, Larry, I don't know if you knew, but Draymond caught a technical in the first half. 16th
tee. That means he's gone Friday.
I saw that on I was watching SVP before we came on. They showed what he did. All he did is the ball came down after a basket, fumbled it, and he just threw it back.
He threw the ball.
It hit Westbrook. Did it hit Westbrook in the head?
No, hit somebody else in the head. I'm not quite sure. No, you're right. It was Westbrook. Yeah.
But was it intentional?
Like he fumbled the ball. Like it didn't make sense. So maybe the league will rescind it.
I think it gets
suspended.
I think it gets rescinded.
I don't think so.
And the other thing is I don't know.
They can win without him though. They really can. They got to play good basketball, but I don't think he's a deciding factor in them winning on Friday night. They got to be tight. Jordan Poole has played a lot better, but JaMychal Green is playing good basketball. The Warriors are playing pretty good basketball. Not to win a championship, they got glaring holes. But if they can't beat Atlanta on the road in a game that matters, I mean, come on.
Are they going to be able to flip a switch, Frank, and get to that next level in the playoffs? I mean, part of me says I expect them to. Part of me says that, you know what, there is no such thing as flipping a switch when you've been playing, regularly since Halloween. You're now going to be able to turn it on in March. I mean, if they can turn it on and somehow successfully navigate their way through the Western Conference and even get to the finals, I think it sends a huge message that the NBA regular season means just nothing.
I mean, I'm assuming GP2 comes back, and at every day that we don't hear anything, the likelihood of Wiggins coming back appears to be less and less a likelihood. So, no, without those two guys, no. But I see a picture with their players of this team competing at the highest level against the teams in the Western Conference. As they are constituted right now, no, it's just too much to ask. I still think they can win a series, but with their two players, they'll have to make some adjustments and play a little differently. But they can win. They can win, but they need Wiggins and they need GP2 back.
Yeah, I agree with Frank.
Go ahead. Brian Iglesias says, 95.7 Brian says, it's frustrating. The Warriors can get a guy like Leandro Barbosa to be a solid defender who was not known for his defensive abilities before he came here. Yet Jordan Poole, who has more talent, more speed than LB, can't stay in front of anyone to save his life on defense. think it comes down to desire to some
It's
degree,
the focus
right?
too. It's the focus. I see him losing focus just in the middle of a play. It's like he drifts out. He starts ball watching. His man drifts off to the corner and catches an open three. Like it's focus. It's just an array of deficiencies.
Stephen A. Smith and even Kendrick Perkins said something that I think is true. If the Jordan Poole, Draymond Green situation doesn't happen, Draymond is all over him right now, saying, you know what, this is totally unacceptable. Because I think that at some point, players have the ability to tune the coaches out, and it has to be about the players. But I don't think that there's anybody on the team right now who's willing to take that chance to really get in him the way that I think that they need to, because I do think it's effort and concentration. It's not lack of ability. I don't think so.
Jalen Rose at halftime said that this is the Western Conference Finals right here. Warriors Clippers. Do you agree?
Could be.
No.
It all depends on how the matchups. They could get in separate brackets.
Yeah. But do you look at these two teams as the two top teams? I as much as we're complaining about Golden State, I definitely could see them being, these being the two best teams left in the West. Just because I just don't feel that strongly about the other teams in the West. The other thing that I think has to be mentioned here is now with Green, are they going to appeal that 16th tee, right? If he
if it doesn't get rescinded, he'll sit against Atlanta and play the next night against Memphis, which might not be a bad thing anyway. I mean,
but they're so thin. I mean, to me, it seems like, look at Golden State. If they don't have Draymond Green against the Hawks Friday night, they're going to have 9 players available, just 3 forwards, assuming that Wiggins is still out. One of those 3 is Patrick Baldwin Jr., who's a rookie. He's only played in 20 games or whatever. I mean, they're thin, man. They're thin in the front court.
I got to bring it up, Larry. So you talked to Steve Kerr.
Yeah.
And he told you what he liked about Anthony Lamb and why Anthony Lamb's getting all these minutes, right? Is Quinones' 10-day, has that expired yet?
No.
I'm not sure. It hasn't. Okay.
I don't think so. He was there tonight.
Well, Steve Kerr is so enamored with Anthony Lamb. I actually think Anthony Lamb helps the Warriors, in a small capacity. He's a solid defender. He can stretch the floor when he's right. But now, you see him in street clothes on the sideline. But if Steve Kerr's so enamored with him, then why hasn't this guy been signed? Can he help this team? It doesn't make sense to me, because Kerr was giving him so many minutes, and now he's just relegated to sideline.
I think now you're getting Lamb and Jerome added to the roster because Iguodala's out and he's having surgery on his left wrist, most likely, unless they think he can come back in, late May or something. But I think he's done. And that gives you can just basically cut Iguodala at this point, his salary, and now you have two open roster spots.
What are we waiting for? Lamb should be on this team right now, in my opinion.
Well,
Kerr basically said that Lamb has basketball intellect that the other guys don't have. I mean, he said a bunch of different things, but if you really wanted to sum it up and say exactly what's his point, he's basically saying that, that Lamb does things that, the fans don't see. I mean, he kind of pulled rank a little bit and was like, hey, we see the game on a different level than the fans and the media.
I see it too, Steve. I see it too.
Okay, yeah. Cy was pushed out of shape by that too. I mean, nobody wants to be told that they don't see the game. You know what I mean? Like, it's I don't know.
But I see it though. I've been telling you guys. I see it. I've been telling you guys all year that I like Lamb, and I think he does winning stuff on the court. So honestly, I felt kind of vindicated when I heard Steve say a lot of the stuff that I feel like I've been saying on this show.
The Wiggins thing got kind of juicy earlier today. The guys on the morning show on 95.7 put out a tweet.
Can we talk about it? Are we sure we can talk about it?
Why?
No. No, I'm giving you a hard because it's like it's so taboo. It's like what can you talk about with Wiggins? There's just so much.
Well, the question
Yeah.
they threw out on their morning roast Twitter was, does Andrew Wiggins owe the Warrior fans some sort of explanation for his absence from the team? Give us your thoughts now on the roast. Now, I didn't hear the segment, but that was the tweet that they put out. Kylan Mills, who we've had on the show before, who we respect quite a bit, tweeted back at that, retweeted it, and added, love the folks at 95.7, but this ain't it. Asking the question indicates that there are two credible answers that are up for debate. There's only one right answer here, and it's no. Andrew Wiggins doesn't owe fans details of a serious personal or family issue. Hashtag Dub Nation. Bonte and her went back at each other a little bit on that one. I just think that anytime you're dealing with something that is unknown and we've been told it's of a personal nature, that if you throw out the question, do the fans deserve an explanation? What's going on behind the scenes? That may play one way to fans, but it plays as insensitive to people who are a little bit more grounded in their thinking, I think. And that's where she's pushing back, saying, that's not a fair question because really there's only one answer to that. That's logical, which is it's a personal matter. He doesn't owe the fans anything. But, and then people have made the comparison. Well, if it was a movie and somebody does the actors in the movie owe you an explanation? Okay, I don't know that that's an apt comparison just because nobody at the end of the movie, you don't have who won, who lost. The fans are invested in their team's ability to win or to lose. And when a player's out for an extended period of time and you see that player's absence hurting the team, it's human nature. While they're sensitive to Wiggins and his privacy and his family issues, they also have separated those into, I think of the Warriors as my team, and I'm interested in how his whatever impacts my team. And since we've never been given any information about this, I don't think people feel like, oh my God, it's some serious taboo, because we have no idea. If we even had an idea of the nature of the thing, I think that would make people either openly question because they don't think it's that serious, or not even touch it because it's enormously serious. And since we don't have that bit of data, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, that's kind of crucial. But what's your feeling? Did those guys, in your opinion, go beyond the line by even tweeting out, does Wiggins owe the Warrior fans an explanation? Is that grossly insensitive? Or is that just sports talk radio guys putting out a tweet and it's par for the course and it's not insensitive? This is kind of a sensitive issue, obviously, because we don't even know what we're talking about, right? It could be anything. And that's kind of why I don't side with Bonte and Shasky, but I'm not going to bag on them because they put out this tweet, because I know that their heart's in the right place. They're not trying to do damage to Wiggins. They're not trying to hurt Wiggins. They're not trying to find out data or try to put his stuff out in the street. They're looking at it from the context of they're presiding over a conversation by Warriors fans on the flagship station about the team, and the playoffs are getting ready. And he's a key cog, and he's not there. And we don't really know anything about if he's there, if he's not coming back. Bob Myers, I think, went on the station and said that he expects Wiggins to return for the playoffs. Where do you guys weigh in on this? Anybody want to go?
Larry, I wish they had been, and I'm not saying this simply because I'm on your show, but I wish that those guys could have been as eloquent as you were right now. Because it is a conversation, but the question could have been reworked. The conversation is about how do you feel as a fan about the Wiggins situation. You don't have to delve into the why or if.
Does he owe you?
Yeah, no. Yeah. But how do you feel? Because these fans feel that these players are a part of their family, and real or not. And if he's going through a tough time or grieving or whatever the case is, the fans emotionally like to be a part of that. It's not about winning basketball games or losing championships. No, it's about, well, what's up with one of our family members? And I know it might seem weird to some people, but the fandom that people have for their teams is real and it is emotional. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with having that conversation. Does he owe the fans anything? Absolutely not. And I think that's kind of where they probably could have taken a step back and reorchestrated the question, because there is only one answer. No, he doesn't owe anybody anything. But is it a conversation to have in a respectful, in a professional and caring way? Absolutely.
You know, the thing that comes to mind with me is, you know, just going back to the days as an athlete, I would do anything for my teammates, right? You want to be there for your teammates. You see them struggling. It's like, even if you're injured, you want to rehab just so you can get back out there and help your guys. So it's a difficult subject to talk about. We don't even know what it is, like you said, Larry. But I just look at it from the team perspective and how teams have that camaraderie. You want to get out on the floor and play for your guys.
What about the fans? The fans have that camaraderie too. The fans are a part of this. They really are.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah,
Frank.
you know, Baller, it's interesting you bring that up, because what went through my mind at the end of the game, they took a shot of the bench of Curry when the game was basically, you know, over, and you just saw him just kind of shaking his head. He looked, and you know what went through my mind is, I'm thinking like Steph, like he was like, come on, Wiggs, we need you, man. I can't, I'm giving everything I got. We're giving it everything we got. I know your situation's tough, but if you're able to get out here, man, you know, I'm not saying that's what he was thinking. It's just what entered my mind, like what I might be thinking if I was playing and just laying it all out there. And I just said, I don't have, my 50 points aren't enough. I can't do it because I need your D, you know, and maybe there's just this frustration. I don't know what, you know, what it is. I mean, everything's subjective, right? I mean, I was at the doctor's yesterday getting an epidural in my neck, and I decided I didn't get put under. So I just did local. And I asked the doctor, I go, is it pretty tolerable without, you know, being put? He says, well, it's subjective. He said, for some people it's tolerable and others it's not. Well, they strapped me in and they put that steroid in my neck, and I just started, I was like screaming.
Why? What did it feel like?
Oh, it just felt like my arm got blown off. Literally. It was just my whole arm, from my neck down to my fingers, just went, it's just this shooting pain. And it was like lasted for 2 minutes. I said, how long is this going to last, man? This is, I'm like dying. And I was they had me strapped and I was trying to get out because I wanted, oh man, but it went away pretty quick. But maybe, you know, what Wiggins is going through for some people might be like, it's not that big of a deal. And maybe for Andrew, it's like his life's falling. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah, it's totally true. It's all it's all relative.
Yeah. And
but,
so you got to go.
The thing about it is, and I think Kylan's really great. I mean, I love having her on the show, and I think she's great. I don't want to say it's cheap, but it's just like they're doing a job, man, and they're getting up. I mean, they're getting up at 4:00 in the morning, maybe 3:30. You know what I mean? They're probably a little bleary-eyed, and they got to make these decisions at 3:00 in the morning, 4:00 in the morning. And a producer says, "Hey, should we phrase it this way?" And it's just easy. It's just easy to kind of sit there in the calmness of your house, you know, looking at everything very, you know, when you've been rested and everything, and to, you know what I mean, to just sit there and go, you know, those guys overstepped the line. And I don't know. It's just like, maybe I've done too many radio shows for too long, and everything seems obvious from, you know, when there's no bullets flying and there's no pressure and there's no live mic, and it's everything like, oh, you're an idiot for doing this and you guys are wrong for doing that. And I understand where she's coming from. And I kind of side with her, but I've also done what those guys do, And I know that Bonte and Shasky didn't mean anything by that. They weren't trying to hurt Wiggins. That's the last thing on their mind. The station's a total supporter of everything connected to the Warriors. So, only thing I would have said is if that was my show and I put out that tweet and I did get as much pushback maybe as they got, instead of like standing up for it and defending it, I think I would just be like, hey, you know what? It appears that we rub people the wrong way and we don't want to do that. So I'm going to back down. There's a time to dig in and ball up your fists. And then there's a time to back down and say, you know what? Often wrong, seldom in doubt. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I think if I was Bonte and once I was kind of alerted to the fact that other people viewed it as grossly insensitive and wrong, I think I would just be like, hey, guys, we didn't mean any harm. We'll be on tomorrow, 6 a.m. Good luck to Wiggins, and sorry if we upset anybody. You know what I mean? I think there's a time to fight and there's a time to back down. I think I would have backed down. But whatever. I mean, who am I? I'm just sitting here on a YouTube telling you what I would do. Mark Graves he says, Danny, change your channel to Human Grade Sports Guy. We're all joking because Danny had some human grade dog treats and we had him eat one probably a couple months ago.
That was months ago.
Brian Iglesia, 95.7 Brian says, Lester Quinones' 10-day has expired. And I will trust Brian on that one. Tammy McDaniel says, Larry, you are too soft on Kerr. Missing an O there. Larry, you need to call him out. What do you guys think? Yeah, am I or are we too soft on Kerr? And does Kerr need to be called out? Cy, I do think is going to be here and be critical. But what do you guys think?
I mean, Cy's the most critical out of all of us. I mean, it's hard for me to criticize Kerr, to the extent of, judging who he thinks should be on the court. That's hard for me to push back against because Kerr's seen so much basketball. He has so many NBA championships, and oftentimes I agree with him. So
he's got 9 rings. It's kind of hard to.
He's got 9 rings. So
yeah. He's got 4 as a coach, 5 as a player. He's gonna, hopefully. Well, he's got an Olympic ring as an assistant. Now he'll be the head coach going into the next Olympics. The guy's a great coach. I mean, he's had talent, in this run, but it's hard to, get on a guy that's, done what he's done. I'll say this. He's not, putting the lineup out. They're not getting free throws. I'm looking at the statistics tonight. They had 2 more field goals, or 3 more field goals, 2-point, and they had 1 more 3-point. So that's 6 plus another 3. That's 9 points they scored. But on the free throw line, they got beat by 26 for 32, the Clippers. The Warriors were 11 of 15. So 15 points on the free throw line. They lost. That's
Tammy says I need to ask the tough question. I don't know.
What's the tough question?
How did you get Blake Sable on the show? No, I have no idea. No, I have no. I mean, if you heard first of all, I don't get a chance to interview Kerr that often. I sat in for Damon and Ratto on a day when Kerr was on. I thought I asked him a lot of tough questions. I think I asked him several. And I even thought about him like, how could I phrase this so that there's no way he can get away from it, So he has to literally answer the question or say, I'm not going to answer the question. So many of the questions I asked him were straight direct questions, like, are you going to be coaching this team next year? But Tammy wants me to get tough. Get tough. Get tough. I don't know. Like Danny says, this guy's won 9 titles. He's coaches the Olympic team. You don't know what you're doing. Like, what? But I do understand the kind of the frustration because it just seems like I don't want to say he's lost control, but it just seems like if his team has tuned him out. I mean, you haven't won a single game the entire year on the road when you've trailed going to the fourth quarter. That's kind of an alarming stat. That doesn't scream, my guys go through walls and battle like hell for me. Oh, by the way, Andre Iguodala, that's a fractured wrist. Iguodala.
Right. Yeah, he's
got
got to have surgery.
Iguodala.
Yeah, his that's how it ended. I don't know. When did he do it? Did he do it on that reverse dunk? Some people are saying, I don't know.
During that game.
Yeah, it happened during the Phoenix game.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked pretty good too. He had some spring and
no, he's been looking good. I mean, his timing. He hasn't been making a whole lot of shots, but his basketball instincts, his athleticism, and his ability to make instinctive plays was coming around. And I think that he was rallying his teammates because they know what the guy can do. With regards to Kerr, you know what, man? I mean, I look at all coaches. Kerr's a great freaking coach, but he's not perfect. And, one of Kerr's tendencies is, he can sometimes get frustrated with young players. And that frustrates me because I know that you have to develop young players. And at the end of the day, this is a short sample size, but the narrative that James Wiseman was not only not good for this system, but he was somehow a stiff. From day one, I was like, that is a bunch of BS. He's not a stiff. This kid can play. And he never really got an opportunity in a season that's basically 500. I don't get that. Even Moses Moody, the last 3 or 4 games, Moses Moody has been playing great basketball. Great basketball, instinctively, defensively, hustle plays, and all of that. Why did he get that opportunity? That's on the head coach.
It's almost like Moody not Moody, Lamb and Jerome, them not being there forced his hand. It's like he looks down and he's only got Moody. So come on, Moses, get in there. And then Moses starts playing well, and it's like, dude, this is what we saw at Arkansas. And it's like, I find it really hard to believe that they couldn't get more out of Moody. They couldn't get more consistently out of Kuminga, and that they were forced to give away Wiseman. Now, let me just read this one super chat and we'll welcome in Cy. P donates $19.99. Thank you, P. He says, life is messed up. Stuff happens. And in soccer, there have been examples where players get family kidnapped. We don't know what it is, but it must be serious at this point. I hate not knowing why he isn't there, but I respect him. 95.7 Brian says the Wiggins situation's tough. He should take all the time he needs. Life is bigger than basketball. Whatever he's dealing with right now is making him seriously not want to play basketball. G. Martinez says, yeah, quit trying to cancel people. We welcome in Cyrus Satsis from Locked On Warriors. Cy, I just went through before you joined the quote that Bonte and Shasky put out, or the tweet, I should say, that they put out on, hey, Warrior fans, I could read it again, but I have it here. Let me just read it. I have it. So let me just read it to you for those who didn't hear it. It says, does Andrew Wiggins owe Warrior fans some sort of explanation for his absence from the team? Give us your thoughts now on the roast. And then Kylan retweeted it and said, I love the people at 95.7, but this ain't it. Asking the question indicates there are 2 credible answers that are up for debate. There's only one right answer here, and it's no. Andrew Wiggins doesn't owe fans details of a serious personal or family issue. And I basically just said that I agree with Kylan, but at the same time, I also kind of have done radio, and I've done these jobs, and I do feel for those guys because they're getting up at
I
3
already
o'clock,
gave it
4
to her.
o'clock in the morning.
So she
They're
spit it out.
bleary-eyed. They're trying to think of what can we do to move the needle? What can we do to move the needle? Joe's a good guy. Bonte's a good guy. They're not bad guys. They're not trying to hurt Wiggins at all. They're not trying to do anything to hurt the Warriors. So I understand. I agree with her point basically over their tweet. And my whole thing would be like, hey, if it was up to me, if somebody brought this to my attention that I had tweeted this and I knew there was all this pushback and all these people that were upset, instead of fighting it back and fighting back and, you don't know and we know and this and that, I would just be like, probably delete the tweet and say, hey, you know what? Didn't mean to offend anybody. Obviously, we meant nothing by it to Wiggins, and God bless him and God bless the Warriors, and we're not perfect, and let's all just move on. But they kind of dug in their heels and were like, hey, this, you don't know. And they kind of went back and forth. It doesn't sound like they were all that gracious about the fact that she criticized them.
Really? So
What's your thought on it? You're locked on Warriors. You're as close to it as anybody.
Wait, so what you're saying?
Your mic's
mic's
down.
Oh yeah, your mic's a little low.
Oh shoot. No, my mic is dead. Hold on.
Hold on. All right, talk it over amongst yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we
Yeah,
can.
Okay, well, it's not. I'm talking to my actual mic. My box just died. I don't know what happened, so I'm talking to my computer mic. I'm sorry. Wait, are you telling me that Bonte and Shasky did a back and forth with Kylan on Twitter?
She called them out on that.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then Bonte said something back to her, like, I don't even remember what exactly it was. But he, instead of just apologizing or taking it down or saying, you know what, upon further review, you're probably right, he kind of pushed back on her, and it seemed kind of contentious. I only saw a glimpse of it. I think some of it might have been taken down. I'm not sure.
Well, did they also do that to Kerrith Burke? Because Kerrith Burke was even more critical of them on Twitter.
I'm not aware.
So
maybe,
I mean,
but they plus Kerrith and Bonte work together.
That's what I'm saying. So is Bonte being a total hypocrite and just picking on Kylan when Kerrith was even more harsh, and she acts like she's the moral police for like anything related to Warriors media. That stuck out to me more than what Kylan wrote, but that's crazy if that's true. I mean, That is crazy. I'm a little surprised that that's going on. I'm curious. I would love for Bonte or anyone else, if they're going to attack Kylan for her stance or start this back and forth, like talk to your own colleague as well, who's actually quote tweeted them and called them out publicly. So I hope that's happening. Yeah, I didn't see that, man. That's kind of messed up, and I feel defensive immediately because Kylan's my partner.
No, I know.
Yeah, so I'm curious.
That's why I asked you.
Yeah, so I need to check that out. Look, Kylan and I talked about it on the show, and like we both agree that I'm not taking a stance where I'm going like public saying like lay off Wiggins and but look, the fans are not Wiggins' employer, the Warriors are, so the only person that Wiggins that should hold Wiggins accountable is the organization who pays him, and they seem fine with this,
Yeah.
So that's I don't know what else. I don't know what else you can really say about it. It sucks. I can understand people's frustrations. Like, I'm getting like DMs from people saying like pissed off. Like I would never, be allowed to just take a month plus off and not give a reason. And I get it. I get that perspective. It's just, but like we're not Wiggins' employer. Like, the Warriors are. So they're cool with it. And again, from what I've heard, and I've said this on your show, whatever's going on with Wiggins, it's not affecting him, from what I've heard. It's affecting someone he knows. And I just really hope it's not like one of his kids. It's concerning, man. But I also, Bob Myers was on 95.7 The Game today, and he
said he expects him back.
The speculation. I think that Colin Cowherd started. He's the one who came out and said that he doesn't expect Wiggins to come back this year. I don't know if Cowherd has a source or what's going on, but Bob Myers came out and said that's not true. That's not what he's heard. And I've heard similarly that the expectations are that he is going to come back, and he's going to come back before the season ends. So let's hope that happens. And again, with the Kylan thing, I really hope that they also gave the same treatment to Kerrith. Otherwise, that's you're kind of picking on Kylan, man. That's messed up.
Yeah. P says I watch 95.7 every morning. I don't agree, and I get it, but no, it wasn't okay to ask that question. I love them. Just how I love watching Wiggins, but it's past us being fans. It's personal. It's respected. No, I totally do. They went too far, and because we don't know what this is.
Right.
I just don't like people who are policing other people, and when it's so it's so easy to do radio from your computer 5 hours after the show.
Correct.
And in your comfy slippers and coffee, and you're grounded and you're rested. I don't know if that was really great. I'm going to type away. You know what I mean? It's much more difficult to be perfect under a live mic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, radio, Cy. I know radio.
Yeah.
I mean, Danny, Frank, we've all done radio. It's live and it's now, and there's no net. You don't have a net. So it's just kind of
no, you're absolutely right. Like tonight, for example, like with Locked On Warriors, I'm going live on all these shows now this year, and that's why I'm always delayed coming to you. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
But tonight there were a few people like who just there's nothing you can do when the trolls come out, right? So there were a couple of trolls that came into the show tonight, and I had my passion going. This was a really tough loss, and so people for some reason were coming in the chat. And maybe they're baiting you. I don't know. Maybe I got baited. Who knows? But they're coming out there criticizing Moses Moody. And I made it very clear, I'm not going to take Moses Moody's slander on this show. I mean, first of all, I don't know how you can blame him. Like he played 10 minutes tonight. I thought there were solid 10 minutes. And so they were coming out in the chat saying like they blame Moody and he's 20 years old, man. Wait until someone can drink before you criticize him. That's my philosophy on it. But yeah, anyways.
What were they criticizing him for? Just the fact they didn't play well.
This is where it gets ludicrous. They were criticizing him for not blocking out Russell Westbrook effectively in rebounds, and I thought that was absolutely absurd. I thought he actually was doing a great job on Westbrook, and I thought they could have used his 6'6" frame, his 7'1" wingspan. I thought he was needed out there, and that was just like I think there's just a lot of people out there who don't like when myself or anyone criticizes Steve Kerr. And Warriors media has been handling Kerr with like kitty gloves this year. You rarely, if ever, see hard questions. Larry, you've heard on those rare moments when he's on 95.7 The Game and someone asks a question that might even be remotely difficult, like he'll scoff, he'll actually get emotional and might get a little terse. And so, so if you criticize Kerr, there's just going to be that contingent of people that just refuse to hear it. And they think he's infallible, and they think that he should not be criticized ever. And I think Kerr is doing a horrible job this year, man. Frank, like you said, great coach, right? There's no disputing that. I'm not calling for his head, but this year, time and time and again, he's just making a lot of ridiculous mistakes, and they've seemed like very common sense mistakes. Like you said, Larry, like I feel like with these two-way players no longer eligible, like. Bob Myers and Joe Lacob basically took the credit card away. They were like, no, okay, you've had enough for your two-way guys. So he had to look down the bench, was like, oh yeah, I have Moses Moody. Okay, fine, I need somebody like coming to get. That's what it seemed like to me. I see that, man. I feel like Kuminga could have played more than 19 minutes. I feel like Jermichael Green could have played more than 16 minutes. It was just ludicrous, man.
There it is. That was the bet. Si. You just hit it.
Which is what?
We wagered as to what size big point of emphasis complaint would be, and I said that they didn't go to Kuminga soon enough.
Yeah. I mean, did you disagree with that though, or no? I mean,
no, I'm saying, but that was what I thought you were going off on, and when you went off on that, I
had the same thought too, but I just with the being the first game back from the ankle, I was like, I don't know, you probably couldn't push his minutes into the upper 20s. But yeah, Larry called that one.
Haruku Hitoki says Wiggins doesn't owe us anything, but we don't have to not keep asking. And asking is crossing the line. F that. I kind of agree with Haruku there.
Who's asking? I guess that depends, right? Because if you're like a media member and you're asking publicly, I guess you can criticize the media people for that, right? And they could also say it if they want. And yeah, let's try not to censor people, right? Is that fair? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. This is tough.
I think it's okay to have a temperature check about the fans because they're invested.
Right.
That's a conversation. There's nothing wrong with that. If the Warriors and Wiggins is not going to say why he's out, I'm cool with that. You don't have to tell me why, but
allow the speculation.
Yeah, I mean, fans. I mean, how do you feel? Can this team win without him? I mean,
Well, I think what they probably should do, and maybe they've done this, I haven't heard, but
Go on NorCal
maybe,
Sports Network and have an exclusive.
yeah, exactly. That's what I was just going to say. Is either Myers or Kerr has just got to come out and say, "Hey, we don't know what Andrew's timeline is. He's dealing with a personal situation that we support, and we're behind him. And some people, the situation is, very difficult. Others, are going to have different feelings. We're supportive of Andrew, and we're giving him as long as he needs, and that's really all we're going to talk about it."
well, Kerr kind of alluded to that recently.
Yeah,
but it took a long time.
But they should just keep saying, "Hey, we're to keep discussing it and taking questions." You're just opening an invitation for controversy. Best thing to do is say, "Hey, look, we don't really know what's going to happen, and we're just not going to keep talking about it. As soon as we know, you'll know."
We got some friends in our chat here, and everybody here is a friend, but one that I want to
quite
get to
everybody.
Here, not everybody, but Ashley is a good friend.
Not the AIDS dude that's got mental issues.
I know. I put him in timeout. But Ashley Keating says, "I originally subbed when I found you from Grant's channel for Niners stuff, but it's been a welcome distraction. I appreciate your channel and all the content. I talked to him about your guys' takes." She had another one here, and she says, "Hey, Larry, my stepdad's cancer is looking like the end of fight after a rough 2 years. I left the hospital and listened to the game on a walk, and now I'm here and wanted to say thanks for all the streams." So, Ashley, let me just say this. It's like, we love doing this, and what I love being on YouTube, but I think this is my most favorite part of it is these post-game, what I call kind of hangs, where I just invite my friends in and we all hang out and we just talk, and there's no order. And sometimes there's no rhyme or reason to the whole thing. And then we just kind of all part usually around 11:30 or midnight and call it a night. And we do it again next time the Giants or Warriors are playing, or Niners. And I love it because it is kind of like, it's like a bar and we're all hanging out. It's like the virtual bar. And, but I just wanted to say that, I'm sorry for what you're going through, and, goddamn cancer, and there's so many people that are affected by that. And I'm honored that, that you find solace in what we're doing, and, hopefully we can serve as a distraction for, the reality of your life and what's going on with you. And, all we can really say is, we offer our thoughts and prayers, and tomorrow, and just a promise that tomorrow will be better than today. And just, know that we're here. We don't, we're here for you, and we're glad to give you a diversion and something to laugh about, and something to take your mind off of the reality of life, because life in a lot of ways sucks. And there's just a lot of bad stuff, and it can harden you and make you feel terrible. So, so anyway, God bless you. And I'm glad that we could be a diversion for you. And, if it makes you feel any better, I could kick Dan off for the rest of the night. Just as a way to show some action. No, I'm just joking, Danny. I only joke with Dan because I know he can take it, but Ashley, seriously, we're sorry you're going through that. And as I said, I'm really glad that we can be a diversion, because I'll say the same thing. My parents both died a couple years ago, and it was tough, man. It was really, really tough. And sometimes I just didn't feel like joking around, but then there'll be other times I just kind of really felt like joking around. You know what I mean? Like, and I know Bob Fitzgerald's a good friend of mine, and he lost his wife while he was doing radio, radio show, not in the midst of the show, but she had a terrible disease and eventually succumbed to it. And I used to just admire the guy, how he could compartmentalize his life, and he's got this tragedy with the woman that he loves dying, and yet he showed this unbelievable courageousness and ability to separate the two. And I told him, I said, Bob, I could never do that, man. I could never do what you do, because I just can't pretend to be happy if I'm not, and I can't pretend to be excited when I'm not. And he's just like, you know what? It was my the show. And he was doing it with Rod at the time. He's like, the show is my is my like safe space and my ability to kind of get away from it all and seek refuge. And after hearing him kind of express himself about it, it really hit me that, you know what, these shows can be anything to anybody. It can be a distraction. It could be something that builds you up and something that gives you hope and something that takes your mind off of, the terrible tragedies that our world presents us. So anyway, I just wanted to say that our thoughts and prayers are with you for sure.
It's a very, very tough thing. I had to sit back in 2019 and, sit at my mom's bedside with cancer. She took her last breath. It was pretty hard. You never get that out of your mind. And sometimes I'll be just, it's funny. I'll be 3-4 years later, I'll say, I'll have a moment and go, I want to call my mom. And it's like, oh, can't do it. You think of something that she would just laugh at or just get such a roll out of, and so it never goes away. And
it never goes away. I'll tell you this, I used to check in with my parents all the time. Let's say I would go to St. Louis for the Final Four or something. Right. And I'd come back. I've been gone for a week. And then it was just like, I would just check in. I'd call over to my parents' house. Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad. How you guys doing? Yeah, I'm back now. How was the trip? It was good. And this and that. So now it's the weirdest thing. It's like I miss them most when I come back from like vacations or being out of town. I feel this like real strong desire to like call my parents' house and check in with them right when I come back from being out of town. Kind of like a reset, just like a mental reset. And that's when I feel the void. So anyway, Grilled Cheese says, Ashley, sorry to hear what you're going through. May your family find peace. So yeah, I mean, it's, absolutely. Will says prayers out. Absolutely. This is a community. It's a community. There's people. And, when you think that people don't care, that's when you find out people do care. People do care. We got this on the super chat from P. He says, we can ask for media, but I hate how toxic the San Francisco Bay fans have been in the last few years. Let's take it down a bit. We have become brats, honestly. Do you guys agree with that? Are people has the tone of Bay Area media, in your guys' opinion, become toxic? I don't know if I would.
I wouldn't go that far. I think it's if you want to listen to the New York media.
Yeah, I mean,
it's quite different.
I grew up in New York, so come on. I mean, when I came out to the Bay Area, I was like, wow,
that's kind of like milquetoast.
Everybody's happy here.
People are nice out here.
I mean, I sit at the media sessions with, the Giants media session and I'm not going to name names, but someone asked, Cap for the question, how are you missing home? Are you homesick? Kind of like you're spring training for a few weeks and you're homesick. Come on. It's kind of a softball question, I think, but
who said that? Whose question was that, Dan?
I'm not going to report.
Oh, okay. Anyway, Tammy says, "Wow, great speech, Larry." I just, sometimes you have to try to make sense of things that don't make sense.
Yeah. Gentlemen, let me say this. My mom is on the East Coast, 3 hours different, right? She's actually in Atlanta, and my mother calls me in the morning every day at 6 a.m. because I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And the reason why she calls me and we talk is just so we can check in, because I never had a father. I wouldn't know what my father looked like if I saw him in the streets. I don't know. He's probably not alive at this point. But, my mom's my hero. She had me at 16 years old. And just to hear her voice every morning for 1 or 2 minutes, it really starts my day off right. So whenever I hear about loss and grieving, I do empathize with everybody. And that's like with this Wiggins thing, one of the things that we don't quite understand, but we're studying it and it is real. We can empathize with people on a level that we never thought that we could in the past. We care. And, when you have a community, that caring really resonates with so many different people. And just your speech, Larry, was phenomenal. And I'll tell you this, and I've told you this several years. When you put the picture of your mom and your dad on Facebook on their birthday, you know how emotional that is for me? Because we've been knowing each other for 25, 30 years. And I know how you feel. So everything is coming full circle because I think we don't accept that we are loving people, and we can, not on the level of the person that it's happening to, but we care about people, and I think that does resonate. So,
Yeah, I think it's, well said. P wants to make a donation. He says, name the 5 most annoying fan bases.
New York,
Philly,
Philadelphia,
It's
LA.
definitely Philadelphia.
yeah.
I mean, come on.
Boston.
Boston people the Boston fans are annoying as hell.
Boston, New York, Philly. Those are the top 3 that I know of.
I love
It's
Philly.
all Northeast fan bases.
I love.
Yeah.
I see. I love their fan base. Man. I love the passion. I love the fact that
You love them chanting racist crap at Draymond
I'm not
Green.
supporting racism, but I like the fact that sensitivity is not a factor, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to literally, if you say something, you have to worry about what you just said, and somebody might spin it and take it into something else. Man, it's just people move on, and they love their teams, and I love it, man. I feel like I could fit in there a lot more in the Bay Area.
I love the passion. I do love the passion, especially if you do what we do, and you're talking to people. It's like, do you want these analytical, dullards, or do you want someone who's going to call up and be like, I can't stand it, I'm losing, And I used to do a nationally syndicated show on Sirius XM, and so you take calls from all around the country, and you realized, how people thought about their teams, and the one that used to crack me up the most is I was on a station in Tallahassee, Florida, and guy used to call up and be like, who do you think's going to win the Florida State game? Who do you think's going to win the Miami game? And I'm like, Bob? He's like, yeah. I'm like, it's May 19th. When's that game? He's like, it's November 19th. I'm like, it's in November. You're asking me in May to handicap a college football game. I don't know. I can't even name anybody. But that's where
I'll tell you,
that's where they're at. Those places like Lincoln, Nebraska, they're just walking around going, "We gotta beat OU. We gotta beat OU."
Hey, I'll tell you, I spent 7 years in Connecticut, and I listened to Mike and the Mad Dog every day. That was fun radio. I mean, when Mad Dog, shut up, Mike! Come on, Mike! I'll tell you what, you think I'm doing a damn guy? And Francesca would be like, "Hey, doggy, you shut up, doggy." Just go back and forth, and be like, the Yankees. Yeah, you Yankees are gonna blow it. Hey, your Giants are always choking, Mad Dog. It's just back and forth. It's guys.
So contentious. I was in a cab in Philly for Army Navy, and the guys listen to WIP, and this guy calls up, and this caller calls up, and he's like, "Yeah, I got a question about Tyson Chandler." And the guy's like, "What about Tyson Chandler?" This is several years ago. And the guy makes a point. And he's like, "Well, one more thing about Tyson Chandler." He's like, "What is it with you and Tyson Chandler?" And then the guy said some other point. And he's like, "One more thing about Tyson Chandler." He's like, "That's it. That's it." And he cuts him off. And he's like, "Bob, I got a question for you." And then the guy, the caller goes, "Oh, yeah? What's your question?" He goes, "Bob, why don't you just shut up?" That was his question. Why don't you just shut up? And then the cab driver looks over at me and he goes, "These guys are great. Man, these guys are great." And I'm just thinking to myself, That's so Philly, man. That is just so Philly.
I love it.
Okay, guys, couple last thoughts before we get out of here. NCAA tournament. Are you guys into it? Are you not into it? Will you watch it tomorrow? Are you going to turn it on? The first game is West Virginia, Maryland tomorrow in the 8-9 matchup on CBS in the South region from Birmingham. Also tomorrow you get Furman, Virginia, Utah State, who I like to beat Mizzou against Missouri, Howard against Kansas, Texas A&M Corpus Christi against Bama. I just watched Corpus Christi last night. Charleston, San Diego State is your 12-5 matchup. Look for the upset there. Princeton, Arizona tomorrow. The Illini, Arkansas. I'll be rooting for Musselman. I'm going to be watching that game. Musselman's Arkansas Razorbacks are the 8th seed in the West region against the Illini. Auburn, Iowa. Oral Roberts, Duke. Colgate, Texas. Boise State, Northwestern. I think Boise State's going to pull the upset there. Northern Kentucky, Houston. Louisiana, Tennessee. I think Louisiana is going to pull the upset over Tennessee. Penn State, A&M. I'm an A&M fan, but I like Penn State to win there. And the Bruins against UNC Asheville. Will you guys watch college hoop tomorrow?
I'm all over it.
Oh, yeah. We
Absolutely.
went we did a breakdown game by game. My brother, who's a college, basketball guru, he's coached in it, and knows a lot of the Division I coaches, and he took it, game by game. He gave a little bit of analysis the other night, so it's kind of interesting. Look at the bracket, see where it goes. But we ended up covering it and going each region. And
who's your? Do you guys have a Final Four? I'm going. This is what I'm going. I'm going Houston, Gonzaga, Purdue, and Arizona. The 1 seed Houston, the 1 seed Purdue, the 3 seed Gonzaga, the 2 seed Arizona. I'm not going to go too off the reservation. I still think it's going to be pretty chalky, like it usually is. Do you guys have a feel for anybody making a ball? Or you got to?
I'll jump in. I'll give my 2 cents. I kind of fell off on my college basketball. I used to watch college basketball religiously, and this time of year I'd be filling out like 20 brackets trying to get that perfect one to get the $1 million. It never happened. But a couple thoughts. When you're Larry, you said you got Purdue in your Final Four. I really like the big man Zach Edey. Yeah. I've been watching him for a few years, thinking, man, this guy, he's going to be a pro. He's got the size, he's got the touch. So I really like Edey of Purdue. And then I'm pulling for San Diego State. I told you guys I was playing some ball in adult league basketball with this 7th grader. Well, now that 7th grader is playing college basketball. Darian Trammell at San Diego State, the little point guard. So I'll be pulling for San Diego State.
My Final Four, I got Duke, Alabama, Texas, and Kansas. I got Alabama beating Kansas in the championship to win the national championship.
Frank, I don't know if you know this, but the Niners have an offensive guard, Nick Zakel.
Mm-hmm.
Fordham.
Really?
Yeah. And he's a good player, man.
Wow. Well, Fordham produces quite a few good players.
Frank, by the way, Frank went to Fordham. I don't know if you guys knew that, but
the running back from Miami, what's his name? I can't think of his name. 3rd string running back went to Fordham.
Was it Gaskin?
Miles Gaskin?
No. I can't. He played Arizona too. Can't think of his name. But Fordham has a player every couple of years. The backup quarterback for the Cardinals 3-4 years ago was the quarterback at Fordham. So thank you for that. Fordham is fun, man.
Nick Zakel. So wait, what did you say? The Miami Dolphins running back?
Yeah, he played for the Miami Dolphins. Can't think of his name. A little smaller.
Let me see.
Scott.
Not Raheem Mostert, not Jeff Wilson.
No.
Salvon Ahmed?
No.
Not Chase Edmonds.
Chase Edmonds.
Yeah.
Did he get a Fordham or Temple?
I think he went to Fordham, but maybe I'm wrong.
He might. I think you might be right. You might be right. Mark Grace's national champs are going to be Arizona Wildcats. Has anybody in here ever been to the Final Four?
I have not.
I've been to a regional final.
I went to the Final Four in 2005. It was in St. Louis. It was Sean May and the
Indiana.
Carolina.
Sean May
Sean May,
dominated.
I mean,
man. I remember
Sean
that.
May
Sean
dominated.
was a monster in
Yeah.
that March Madness.
They had they had the two Williamses, Jawad Williams and the other Williams.
Marvin Williams. Yeah,
was
that was
pretty
the peak of my college basketball right
good.
there. I loved
They
that
beat
era.
the Illini, who had Bruce Weber coaching, and they had Luther Head, Darren Williams, James Augustine.
Yeah.
Remember those guys?
Oh,
Anyway, they sent it was at the Edwards Jones Dome where the Rams played in St. Louis.
Yeah. Huge stadium.
They put a curtain so they kind of wall off like half the stadium because it's a football stadium. I could literally touch the top of the dome from my seat. I was in the last row.
Wow.
I get there. I'm watching the layup line at the intros for the first game on Saturday. It was like I was watching from the top of the Sears Tower. I mean, it was like laughable. You couldn't you couldn't even see who anybody was. I mean, it was just I have no idea why they keep putting the Final Four in football domes.
Yeah, that's stupid.
It's just stupid. I mean, it's the only game. It took me an hour basically to get in the traffic and find my seat and everything. I watched the layup line. I got back. I'm like, oh my God, no way. I walked back to my hotel, watched it on TV. I'm like, there's no way
if they're going to do that stuff and they want to play in a packed place, instead of playing in some stupid, football stadium, do what Little League does, like Williamsport. They play the World Series in Williamsport every year. It's a beautiful place. Build a place that seats 27,000 that's a basketball arena and make it special that, hey, you get to go wherever that is, and that's the, the College World Series in baseball every year is in Omaha. I understand they move it around because of, it's a reward and it's financial, but I hate seeing basketball games, Final Fours in, the court looks stupid. They're sitting, the players are down low.
They can't shoot at all.
Yeah. I mean, the backdrop is horrible. It's like you're looking, like the ocean's behind you. It's just playing, you make it to the pinnacle of your college basketball career, and and then you're playing in some 75,000 seat arena, and the court looks like, a little ant box on a, it's just crazy. I mean, I don't know if you've ever gone on a court in those types of arena, but it's ridiculous. When they played the regional final here in 2004 in Arizona, UConn was in it, and I had just moved here
against Butler.
No, it was before that. It was
remember when Butler played UConn in the Final Four and they could not make a shot?
Yeah,
and it was just and I remember talking to Tommy T about this. He said that when you play in these stadiums and you've got the court's just in the middle of a stadium,
you can't
it's
see
like the depth your depth perception on
awful.
the outside shots is just so difficult. Frank, what's the biggest arena you ever played in?
Madison Square Garden.
Well, now
what is that?
What was
that?
Is that
18,000?
Now, what was that like as a New York City kid playing
19,000
at the Mecca there?
Man,
How old were you?
I was at Fordham. I mean, Fordham we played a great schedule. We actually played North Carolina there. We played North Carolina. It was against Jordan's team. We actually played North Carolina twice in 1 year. We played them at Stanford. I was a freshman, and then we played them in the Holiday Classic. The tournament was St. John's with Mully, Winnington, Mark Jackson, Fordham. I knew Kenny Smith from high school, Michael Jordan. I mean, that team, Brad Daugherty, Sam Perkins. And Iona College was also in the tournament. So the Garden is the best place because they have like this lighting system. It's kind of like golden. It's just unbelievable. So,
they dim the crowd, right? They dim the crowd, so it's like, the spotlight is on the court.
It's like a 30,000 seat theater is what it looks like, what it feels like. So
when you mention St. John's, by the way, you know who I always think about, who I just He was awesome at St. John's, but he
Steph Curry.
just
I mean,
didn't
Chris Mullin.
do it in the pros.
Oh.
The truth, Walter Berry.
Yo, I got a funny story about Walter Berry. Check this out. This dude was unbelievable, right? And my high school, St. Agnes, was, one of the top high schools in New York, even though we were from Long Island. And my coach was a legend, Frank Morris, Hall of Fame and the whole nine. R.I.P. to Coach Morris. But we would do scrimmage games. So Walter Berry's team, he went to Ben Franklin High School. They came to our gym to do a scrimmage, but we actually played a game. We just ran 6 quarters, right? Walter Berry was the first guy that I ever in my life saw block people's shot that he was not guarding. So literally, he would be on the side. Like the defensive player kind of hovers around the lane now.
Right.
That would be Walter Berry blocking somebody's mid-range jump shot. It was unbelievable. So,
greatest New York City player of your lifetime at the high school level.
Kenny
Would
Anderson.
you say Kenny Anderson and Archbishop Mole?
Oh yeah, without question. I mean,
really?
Listen, this dude was 15
Not
years old. Not Mully because well, hold on. Mully had the greatest career of any high school player in my life. Chris Mullin was a legend in high school. And
supposedly he used to go down to Mully's told me stories. He used to get on the subway and go down to Harlem and play.
Whenever I see Mully, listen, man. Mully is an unbelievable guy, as humble as any superstar I've ever met in my life. And he was literally a star in high school. Now, here's another story. We almost upset Mully's team at St. John's when I started as a sophomore, right? And we lost to St. John's by 1 point. They had 4 pros on their team. And I got an offensive rebound at the end of the game to shoot a layup to possibly win the game. Bill Winnington blocked my shot. That's how we lost the game. But we almost upset St. John's. They were 4th in the nation. Mully was on that team.
Second. Those are the days, man. Those were the days.
Yeah.
We're about ready to bolt for the door. Somebody in here in the chat, Tammy McDaniel, she's going after me about the Niners. Without a quarterback, the Niners are not winning the Super Bowl. Then she says, the Niners need to move on from Kyle.
Okay.
Kyle is a choker. The Niners are spinning their wheels. Tammy's really letting it go. She's emptying the clip.
Let me give you my quick final 4.
Yeah, who's your final 4, Danny?
Yeah, this is one we worked on together, all of us, but we took Arizona over Tennessee and Houston over Gonzaga. Arizona.
You have Tennessee in the final 4.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Houston over who?
Gonzaga.
Okay, so we both have Houston and Gonzaga. I like Houston beating Gonzaga too.
And then Arizona over Houston in the final.
Wow, you're going with Arizona.
It's going to be fun, man. I love NC2A.
Yeah, G. Martinez says Tennessee's missing Ziegler. Frank. All right, that's going to do it for us. We're almost 2 hours in. We've been going and going and going.
Hey,
Cy, you got a final thought on why don't we go around the room with our final thoughts here? Cy, you got a final thought on
I have a lot of thoughts. I've talked Warriors for 30 seconds on your show, man.
I know.
We're done? We're leaving?
Well, we're gonna get off in 7 minutes.
All right.
You can hang.
Go ahead.
Give
us the rundown, Cy, because you got in here late. We we went Warriors heavy early. But go ahead, give us your thoughts on this game because we got into it a little bit. I personally thought the big difference was that third quarter when Clippers shot 12 free throws. Golden State didn't even shoot a single free throw. And then I thought also with the Clippers, Warriors cut it to 3 early fourth, and then Clippers went on a 10-1 run. I think the game was kind of over right there. But give me your thoughts on it.
Well, I again, the third quarter, I agree. That was where it all went south because the Warriors had momentum going into the half. They were only down 3 points. They end the third quarter. They get outscored in the third quarter again, which has become a very disturbing trend considering that there is a very clear correlation between the Warriors' third quarter success and overall success. Winning championships and whatnot. I mean, this is the second worst third quarter team in Kerr's entire run, with the worst being the 2020 version, which is just a flat out awful team. So again, they got outscored in the third quarter by 3, despite going to halftime with momentum. And Kerr, just this small ball thing is just driving me insane. It's I don't understand. He had a lineup out there for a long time that in the third quarter that where Steph was on the court with DiVincenzo and Jordan Poole. And I mean, that's 3 of your 5 players are 6'4" or smaller, and the Clippers were just eating them up alive. They outscored the Warriors 27-11 in second chance points, which was largely because of offensive rebounds, killing them with the rebounding edge. They out-rebounded them by 8. And, and Kerr, I don't know. I mean, the Andre Iguodala injury definitely sucks because they could have used him tonight. But why Kerr? Again, I know you focus on the minutes thing or focus on my borderline obsession with Jonathan Kuminga. But considering since the start of 2023, when Jonathan Kuminga plays 25 minutes or more, their winning percentage is 72% or 71.4%, sorry. And when he plays less than 20 minutes, they only win 43% of the time. It's just every single piece of evidence shows that.
Why do you think that is? Do you think that is that tied to my theory of he's the one guy who's kind of quick in the open floor to loose balls? Because I just think that Golden State doesn't defend the 3 well, and they don't rebound well off long rebounds because there's nobody with any quickness. And I think Kuminga may provide that quickness to the ball.
And size. I mean, he is 6'8". He is incredibly athletic. We saw that ankle injury he had last week. I mean, the team originally was saying like 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden, less than a week later, he's back. I mean, he just, a testament to his youth, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think it's his athleticism, his size, and again, good things happen when he plays. And I heard Frank say, like one of Kerr's weaknesses is his impatience with young players. But I didn't see that impatience with the 2-way guys, I don't get it, man. I don't understand what Kerr's doing this year. And this was a game they had to win because there's now 12 games left in the season. 7 are on the road, 5 are at home. Let's say for the sake of argument, these road struggles continue. I mean, they're not going to even make the playoffs. They won't even make it.
I would argue they got to win Friday, Si. Friday they got to win. Yeah.
Now, the encouraging thing that's cool is that they lost this game tonight. They weren't killed, though. Like, they did keep it close. And the Clippers are quite possibly the best team in the NBA. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this was like a huge game tonight between 2 Titans. And you saw the Warriors respecting that. I mean, they were trying for sure. And not having Wiggins is huge. I mean, he could have been the difference. I mean, they only lost the game by 8 points. But, they better fix this fast, man. And I wish Kerr would kind of get his head out of his ass when it comes to this minute distribution.
Why was Looney on the bench? Sean asked that question. Why was Looney on the bench for such a long period there?
Looney played 25 minutes tonight, which is standard for him. But a game like tonight, you needed size. And why your bigs were playing the least amount of minutes, like Klay Thompson is turning into their power forward. And they're not going to win titles like this. It's not cool. It's not cool. So that's what I noticed is it's Kerr is just for some reason has his, I don't know if it's an ego thing. I don't know what he's saying. I'm very happy the team took away his credit card in the sense of like he can't go down the bench and see those 2-way guys anymore. Thank God for that. Now he's just got to put some faith into his youngsters a little more, man. Like Moses Moody's not a bad player. No. He's 6'6" with a 7'1" wingspan. He shoots 33% from 3. That's not bad. He's not a bad defender. He can play. He can play. And
I think you're going to be dealing with Lamb on this road trip. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not signed by Friday's game.
Maybe. And at this point, I wouldn't blame the team for doing it just because they're so thin. It wouldn't surprise me. But I mean, Lacob still has to sign off on that. I mean, if he's going to play,
well, they basically got 2 open roster spots, and they can't go below.
No, just one.
Well,
right?
well, yeah. I mean, with Iguodala though, are they going to just release him?
No, they're not. And no, they're not. So he's still on the roster. And so you only have 1. And so the decision now is it's and this is where, again, thank God Myers and Lacob have this power because their Kerr is so ridiculously insistent on playing Lamb and And Jerome, no offense, Frank, I know Jerome's your guy, but like I don't think Jerome would even play right now. I think Jerome's done for the year no matter what. I don't see how they can still fit him in, but this is insane. Yeah, this is insane. So if this is where we are, man. So I hope Kerr kind of figures it out. I hope Wiggins comes back sooner than later. I think he will come back. I'm confident that Wiggins is going to come back. So that's where they are.
And
Well,
no chance. They're done. Tammy McDaniel says they should go after Kevin Love, but it's over, right?
Love's with the Heat.
Yeah, too late for that one.
Anybody they sign now, they can't do any two-way guy. They'd have to sign somebody that's not in the league that's a total free agent to be eligible, I believe, for the playoffs.
And so DeMarcus Cousins is like the only name that's out there that would make any sense. There's no one else. Like Dwight Howard is not.
I don't want that.
I mean, I wouldn't mind it. I don't think DeMarcus Cousins would hurt. I mean, he can shoot the three. He knows the system from having played here. But my understanding is the word behind the scenes is that it's not that Kerr and Cousins have animosity, but Kerr doesn't want Cousins back, and so I don't think they're gonna try to fit that in. And I agree.
Is this true? No Caps is Lake was trying to save money every day. Someone isn't in the 15th spot, he saves money, but yet he just bought a $40 million house.
That's a weird thing with Lacob. On one hand, he talks about a fiscal responsibility. He's a businessman, venture capitalist, and all that. But he uses that line in terms of his spending for personnel with the Warriors. But then on the other hand, I didn't know about the $40 million house, but I do know he's angling to either buy the Angels or he's angling to buy a expansion WNBA team and have them play in the Bay Area. And that's not cheap. I mean, we're talking like potentially $1 billion,
Well,
Why
you can't really blame.
want to buy a WNBA team. Isn't that a loss? I mean, we know the NBA is propping up the WNBA. If the NBA didn't prop up the WNBA would have gone under just the same way the ABA went under when they had the rival women's basketball league went under, but the NBA has propped it up. I did an interview with David Stern, and I asked David Stern, I said, what do you consider your greatest achievement of your tenure as the commissioner of the league? And he said the creation of the WNBA.
I'm gonna be controversial.
Uh-oh.
I can't stand the WNBA. I just like, if I want to watch basketball, I want to see people get off the ground.
You don't like a ground game.
Oh, dear.
I don't like a ground game. I mean, hey, look, if my daughter played, I'd be thrilled and I'd watch it and I supported it. But
it's okay to say you don't love the WNBA.
I don't love it because it's, to me, I'd rather watch college basketball. Actually, the women's college basketball games, not bad. Some of it, I'll watch some of the, maybe when they get down to the Final Four, I'll watch some games because they got some excellent shooters. I mean, you got some sharp shooters for women's basketball that, I mean, I don't know how they.
I don't like the WNBA either. I think they're force feeding us.
Yeah, I don't want to be forced to watch
a sport that women are not great at. Like, give you an example. If you took like the McDonald's high school All-American team and you put them up against the best teams in the WNBA, I really think they would smoke them, absolutely smoke them. But if you took the greatest Olympic female sprinters and you put them up against the best high school boys sprinters in the country, those boys would get destroyed. So, but for some reason, we don't really give a lot of love to our U.S. Olympic sprinters who could beat, who are incredible to watch, but we do celebrate the WNBA when, the best basketball boys teams around the country, I think, could beat them.
I love the comments. I love the comments coming in. Everybody wants to mute me. How dare you? I say an opinion, and it's like, it's my opinion.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
So you have a different opinion. Who cares?
We're not muting Dan. I mean,
I like the WNBA. I like the WNBA. And
yeah, I mean, so it's like different for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I like it because I know how hard basketball is to master, and to like see the growth of where these young ladies have come. It's pretty amazing. Now, yeah, I mean, you have to kind of root for it to keep it alive. But the growth in women's basketball has been incredible. I mean, you think Caitlin Clark from Iowa has not been influenced by Steph Curry. I mean, Paige Becker, she can come back from her injuries. These are unbelievable players.
Do
Yeah,
you believe that the players of today, Frank,
Yeah.
are better than Clarissa Davis, Cheryl Miller, Cynthia Cooper?
You know what? They're actually more skilled.
They are? Okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, Caitlin Clark, you know Caitlin Clark, right?
Yeah, the shooter from Iowa.
I mean, she's no joke, man.
Yeah.
She's unbelievable.
Yeah, you see that? Yeah.
But Cheryl Miller was
Scored 100
beating
points
Reggie
in a game.
Miller in the backyard.
Yeah, no. I mean, listen. I mean, Cheryl Miller was great, but to me, Cheryl Miller was not as good as Maya Moore. I mean,
who's the best women's basketball player you've ever
seen?
seen? To me, it's Taurasi.
I thought it was Clarissa Davis at Texas.
She
Remember
was
how
really
good she
good.
was?
I mean, I think, I mean,
Cynthia
to me,
Cooper?
No,
I was a Taurasi fan. She reminded me of a female version of Magic Johnson.
Who's a tall girl?
I like
USC? I like
who-
Della Dawn, the female version of Kevin.
she was
Durant.
awesome.
I'm a
She was
Della
awesome.
Dawn fan. Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird was a good point guard.
Great point guard.
Yeah,
Great
great
point
point
guard.
guard.
I
New
always
York
like
City.
I like the like I say, the college game's interesting because they play pretty good team basketball. They've gotten better over the years. But I just never got into the WNBA. It's like I'm not gonna, to me, when they try and push that it should be equal pay and they should get all this, there's just no way. If it was
It is equal pay.
equal pay to the men,
Yeah, no, it's equal pay. They're equal. The men get
the revenue.
They
You're talking revenue.
They get money the commensurate with what the NBA revenues are.
Yeah, with
and
the revenue, yeah.
WNBA players make money commensurate with what the WNBA.
Well,
they
what
are
my
getting
point.
equal pay.
I agree,
They're
but my
probably
point
getting
is
better
that
than equal pay. To be
they
honest,
think they should get more like
they're not
what the
going to get
men.
the same pay.
But no, if the demand was there, people would be watching it like they watch the NBA. The demand's not there because, look, they just don't. It's not as entertaining because, in the NBA, what thrills people? Soaring Kuminga dunks.
It's an above the rim game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what
No,
brings
I get it.
excitement. And
I don't compare it to the NBA because there's no comparison. But for what it is, I'm glad it exists.
Yeah, no, I'm glad it exists too.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
look, I've got a daughter. I would love to be able to look my daughter in the eye and say to her, "Hey, you know what? You can do whatever you want in this world." And if there's no WNBA, then I really couldn't say that, right?
Mhm.
Because then I could say, "Well, you could be a great basketball player, but you can't play basketball, not professionally."
Right.
The reality is Stern's answer to me was his greatest achievement was the WNBA because in his mind, the creation of the WNBA opened up the dream of basketball to, instead of half the population, the entire population. So I get it. I think it's a little PC. I think he probably has some other accomplishments that are probably greater as far as the revenues of the NBA, but I get where he's coming from, and it was probably the right answer. All right. We sidestepped that whole landmine.
Hey, one last thing, and I want to say
yes.
on this.
Go ahead, Danny.
The way
Go ahead.
history is hilariously repeats itself. Brett Favre played with the Packers like 17 years. The last 2-3 years, it was like every offseason. Is he going to return? They had drafted Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers sat for 3 years. They finally got tired of Favre's shenanigans, and they said, we're moving on. We're going with Aaron Rodgers. Now, and Favre gets traded to the Jets. Now the Packers again, they sit Jordan Love for 3 years. They're getting tired of Aaron Rodgers last couple of years. Am I playing? Am I retiring? What am I going to do? And they're ready to move on with him. I mean, Mike Murphy just said, hey, we're moving on. It doesn't matter if Aaron really wants to come back. They're done.
Right.
And he's going to go to the Jets. How ironic is that? I mean, is that crazy? If I was like going to follow it and I said I had bet futures, I'd say he's going to be with the Vikings next year, the year after. I mean, year after the Jets. I mean, this is crazy. I don't know how that happens in sports, but a lot of things like that happen in sports where there's just these weird things that, so I'm just shocked, and I'm curious what Frank's got to say, about Rodgers going to New York. How do you think he'll handle if that does indeed come down? How will Rodgers handle the New York media if he struggles?
I don't think he's going to struggle. I think it's a home run, and I'm glad that he's going to New York if it actually happens. And I think, Rodgers is a lot of people don't like folks who are arrogant.
I love Aaron Rodgers. I think he's awesome.
He's very arrogant. But
I think, but he backs it up.
Right. He's setting himself up for the next 10 years. This guy could potentially own the media, man. TV shows, Good Morning America, whatever the case. I love the fact that he's going to play for the Jets because they got legitimate players. So many years against New England, they didn't have a chance. Now they do. Just go do it. Just go play football. So,
are you a Jets guy?
Yeah. The Jets practice.
They say, Frank, you're either Jets, Mets, or Yankees, Giants.
Well, here's the thing. Because as a kid, yes, I am. But I like the Giants because Mr. Mara went to Fordham, and he used to come to my basketball games.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Wellington Mara went to Fordham. So
Wellington Mara, a casual outfit for Wellington Mara is when he wears a khaki slacks, a blue dress shirt, no tie, and a sport coat. That's the young one. Wear.
The dad went to Fordham.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the dad went to Fordham.
Last thought for Baller is
last thought
cover
for
your
Baller.
ears. Before you went on your soliloquy, Cy, I was saying the Warriors should have already signed Anthony Lamb for the rest of the year. I think Anthony Lamb probably deserves 15 to 20 minutes, at least with the players that are available right now.
So who should he play over?
Well, let's look at the minutes tonight.
Because the reality is,
I'm playing him over Moses Moody.
Okay, I disagree. You lose me right there. You lose me.
You want to look at the percentages, the defensive metrics.
But if you're going to do that, bring up his Santa Cruz stats. How Anthony Lamb's been doing in Santa Cruz since he's been there. Awful. You could also bring up the fact that, again, Anthony Lamb is 6'5". He's actually shorter than Moses Moody.
But he plays bigger than that. He's got a thick, strong frame.
He does. You're right. But he's not. But that's all he's got going for him. His 3-point shooting has regressed. He's not a good ball handler. Me and Kerr see it a little bit different. Exactly. And Bob Myers and Lacobs, I'm on their side. And I'm glad that they're not letting Kerr continue this ridiculous experiment with Anthony Lamb, who, by the way, we should bring up the alleged rape part of it too. Do not disregard the fact that no one is touching the fact that he's an alleged rapist. No one. Only one reporter with the San Francisco Examiner.
Innocent until proven guilty, though.
Well, okay, so then you just disregard it altogether? You don't.
No, you just said you like the Philly fans because they don't get on. That they're rough and you're kind of, I think, taking an opposite approach here because
that's like the Warriors did. That's like the Warriors did
maybe
some
the Philly
due
fans would
diligence.
riot his ass for being an alleged rapist. If you read the lawsuit, it is ugly, man. He's alleged to have done it 3 different times, and the fact is, the police never got involved because in Burlington, Vermont, this whole lawsuit is about the fact that they cover things up all the time. And Anthony Lamb was a revered athlete in this town. And this is his ex-girlfriend that he abused on more than one occasion. There are witnesses that are going to come out. This thing is going to be so ugly. All I ask is if you're going to have an opinion on this rape story, read the lawsuit first. I've read it. Okay, so
I just talk about on the court stuff.
Despite the fact that there are allegations of him trapping this woman in a room for a whole night, right, when the rape took place, she's feared for her life. The university would not bring the police into it because Lamb was their prized athlete. There was another instance where he had sex with her non-consensually without a condom. There was another instance where he recorded having sex with her without telling her about it. And again, even in the lawsuit, and this is documented with the university, a huge part of the issue with the accuser is Kendall Ware, is that she never got an apology from him, and he was going to. The university was trying to protect him and refused to let him say the apology. And when you apologize for something, usually something bad happened if you're going to apologize. My point is, why are you just sweeping it under the rug? What if this actually happened? You're just going to disregard that part of it?
No, if it happened, he's got to pay he's got to do the time.
Well, only 20% of rape cases, Kylan brought this up, actually result in someone paying a price. So the due process argument for this, I can't fall for that, because due process is hard when it's one person's word versus another. Maybe he's innocent. Maybe he is. My question is, why are the Warriors taking such a chance on such a mediocre player who has this really heinous?
They must be convinced. They must be convinced that he is.
Yeah, but see, Cy,
right?
there's.
I don't know. Go ahead, please.
I don't know what happened. No one knows.
We know what. Well, she has her side of the story. The Warriors have never reached out to her. That was the story that came out a week ago. The Warriors claim they did due diligence. They never reached out once to her or her attorney to get her side of the story. So how is that due diligence? This stinks, man. This stinks. I don't want him anywhere near the team.
I'm gonna get out of here with a couple of last thoughts. I gotta wake up early, but hey, had a blast talking to all of you. And Cy, that's why I love talking to all of you. But Cy, I love how me and Cy, we can butt heads and we can disagree all day and all night. But Cy knows I got love for him.
Yeah, right back at
you.
You
know what you're talking about, Cy.
Right back at you.
Hey, those watching, if you guys want to see some highlight, a lot of these YouTube channels talk about the sports, or we talk Niners, we talk Warriors. If you want to see some film, that's what's going down on my channel. I'm breaking down some film. I just put out a Javon Hargrave video, and there's going to be more of those to come. There was like 5-6 just wow plays. I watched the Eagles versus the Texans, where Hargrave had 3 sacks. And Larry, I don't know if you know, but PFF gave him this dominant pass rushing grade in the 90s, which is like top 3 for interior defensive linemen. But his run stopping grade was poor. I want to say it was like around 50. So right. I wanted to watching that Texans game. I'm seeing, the pass rushing tools popped off the screen. He's beating the left guard left and right. But it did seem like in the run game, Larry, in that game I watched, the Texans were able to move Hargrave kind of where they wanted to in the run game. So it's something, when you watch the tape, Larry, let me know if you see some of that same. Again, that's one game, but there's going to be more all 22 clips coming out about most 49ers related players. So if you're into that, subscribe to the channel. Fellas,
what's the channel?
Hey, we'll talk soon.
Bay Area Baller 18. Bay Area Baller 18.
Right there.
I'm going to join tonight.
That's it.
All right, Baller.
Talk to you later.
We'll talk to you soon. Baller's doing a nice job on his YouTube channel. Danny, we'll let you go as well. Danny, once again, NorCal Sports Network.
Yeah, NorCal Sports Network. Got tons of interviews from the clubhouse with Giants. Got some, there's some good interviews, some good stuff. We'll be putting some new stuff up here in the next day or two. And, check it out. Subscribe. We're going to be getting some pretty good guests coming up, hopefully in the month of March and April. So,
what sport? Baseball, football, basketball?
Got some football guys. We're working on some big names.
Where's Ryan?
He had something going tonight that came up at kind of a situation. So.
All right, gentlemen, I'm going to say goodnight. All right.
See you, Frank.
Peace
Have
out.
a good night, man.
All right. Take care, folks.
We'll talk to you. Cy?
Yeah.
Just you and me now.
No one likes to touch the rape subject, man. But I've done
it's just, I think we've been going for 2 hours and 14 minutes, and I was on a bunch today. So I think, it's not even that. I don't think anybody wants to counter anything like that because, it's grossly insensitive and I don't know the ins and outs of it. I got to think that the Warriors did some due diligence. They said they have, but I've heard you state that before. And I know that is a fact that they never contacted the person who's making the claim in this situation. So we're just going to have to see how it all plays out. But hey, brother, good stuff, man.
You too, man.
What do you got going tomorrow on Locked On?
Well, but what else did you do today? You said you had a lot of did you have interviews?
Oh, I did a bunch of videos this morning on all the Niners stuff. The Niners made a bunch of moves, so I did a bunch of that. And then I did a live stream with Grant Cohn. That was off the hook. I mean, it was probably 1,000 people in the room.
Nice.
And then did a live stream with Jesse Naylor, who's really good as well. We did that tonight at about 7:40, and then watched the rest of the Warrior game, and then of course doing this live and just lots of stuff. Tomorrow, it's finally stopped raining here in the East Bay.
Yeah,
my kid plays baseball for Northgate. I'm gonna go check him out tomorrow afternoon. So he told me he might be pitching tomorrow. So I'm really excited for him.
Good.
So yeah, things are going good, dude. The channel's blowing up, and what can we say? Let me check where we're at. As far as my goal is to get to 20,000 subs before the draft.
That's a good goal.
That would be, it's ambitious because we're only right now at, I'll tell you here in a second, but we just passed 15,000 subs
Congrats,
a couple
man.
days ago.
Well deserved.
And now we're approaching, let me see what it says, but.
And then also, while you're looking that up, man, what have the Niners been doing, dude? Like, are they? Yeah, what's been going on, man? Like, are they better? Are they?
Oh, I mean, there's no question. They picked up Javon Hargrave, and he's a great pass rusher, and you got to have a pass rush. So Hargrave helps. Today they picked up Clelin Ferrell from the Raiders, who should be a good depth piece. They picked up Isaiah Oliver, a cornerback from Atlanta. They lost Jimmy Ward. They lost Emmanuel Mosley. They re-signed Jake Brendel. They let Mike McGlinchey go.
Yeah.
So
is that a bad thing?
No. The Niners are doing this right. In fact, I talked about this on Twitter today. Right. John Lynch and Parag Marathe are getting this right. They are targeting one big-time free agent every year. Last year, it was Charvarius Ward. This year, it's Javon Hargrave. Then they're letting all these good players, I mean, guys who are legitimately good, but they're letting them all walk in free agency. They're like, you know what? We've got our price. Good luck to you. Then they're getting compensatory picks at the end of round 3, round 4, round 5, round 6, round 7. They're getting compensatory picks. This year, they led the NFL with 7 compensatory picks. Next year, they already are in line to get like 5 or 6 more compensatory picks. And then they're kicking ass in the draft on day 2 and day 3 with all these extra compensatory picks and all these guys they sign after the draft. And they've been the deepest team in the NFL the last few years. So the nice thing is you see the Rams get good, the Rams get bad. They're tearing it down. You see certain teams go up and then go down. The Niners have this formula where they're deep and they're always replenishing their talent. So they continue to be deep. And now they're hunting for the best players at the top of the free agent market. And they're kicking ass in the draft with all these extra picks. So in a lot of ways, I think Lynch and, Joe Lacob, they call him Joey Light Years because he said he was light years ahead of the rest of the league.
Right.
In some ways, John Lynch and Parag Marathe are light years ahead of the rest of the league in that they figured out how to play free agency so that they get top tier players out of it, still are able to sign some bottom tier players to fill in the holes, but they stay away from everybody in between. And so then their compensatory formula always nets them 5, 6, 7, 8 extra draft picks. Then they use those draft picks to draft more big time players. And then they're doing the work after the draft, getting these undrafted guys. So it's a formula that, it's amazing. They've got 21 guys on their 53-man roster that were drafted on day 3 of the draft or weren't drafted at all.
I love homegrown
talent, man. They're putting together this incredible roster. It's kind of like what Joe Lacob has done by buying second-round picks. Because, I love this kid Rollins, right? I think he's going to be really good.
Ryan Rollins, yeah.
And you can buy picks in the second round. And the Warriors, like the draft, it used to be if you didn't have a lottery pick, you couldn't get anybody good. Now it's a much more speculative draft and it's deeper. And the Warriors are doing a nice job of handicapping it and staying on top. Well, the Niners are kind of doing the same thing. So it's been a real pleasure to watch.
Let's hold off on the light years thing until they win at least one Super Bowl. But I totally follow what you're saying.
Yeah.
Otherwise, absolutely.
But they're contending for Super Bowls every year.
Yeah, that's fair.
And they also haven't had these. They haven't had this. They haven't had the ups and the downs and the. It's been they're up here. Every year the 49ers are among the deepest teams in the NFL, and it's because of the way they're handling free agency. So. Anyway,
I love it. I love it.
Good stuff, man. I'll let you go. Have a great one. What's on Locked On tomorrow?
Locked On. All right. So my guest tomorrow, see, if I mention his name, no one else will get it, but you'll get it, is Ryan Leong, who, I don't know if anyone is familiar with his work.
Why?
So
why? I'll give you my, Saves, how about Salta La Macchia? Ralph.
So
why?
Ryan Leong is
why?
So Ryan Leong is a longtime sports media member, and Larry and I know him because any sporting event you go to in the Bay Area, in the media section, there's Ryan. I have no idea who he even publishes work for, but I promised him during a Warriors game. I was sitting next to him, and he wanted to come on the show, and I said I would do it, and I'm a man of my word. And so tomorrow's the day. Look, he's at every Warriors game. He's in that interview room asking Kerr questions, and so I'm gonna fulfill my word. Get his.
Is he in a higher tier than you?
He doesn't get into the locker room, but he's in the no. He's not. We're in the same tier, but
all right.
And for people wondering what that means, like the NBA has this tier system for press credentials now, where if you're not in the top tier, you don't get into the locker room, and they only give out very few of those top tier credentials. So no, Ryan and I, neither of us have a top tier credential. But
let me ask you this: is the top tier? Is it random as shit, or it like if you're like a writer and travel, or is like, is it like just like is it Ray's discretion? Like anybody who he likes, he can put in there.
It is Raymond Ritter's discretion, and who he goes with are the beat reporters. So like the San Jose Mercury News, San Francisco Chronicle. Their beat reporters have for some reason the Warriors really revere the San Francisco Chronicle because they have access to everything. So that's pretty much it. And maybe like and the Athletic also gets their people in there, and that's it. I think it's those three organizations. They got the access over everyone else.
Nice.
Yeah. So Ryan Leong will be on the show tomorrow, but we're just gonna break down, kind of get into more of what happened tonight. This was a big game, and part of what really bums me out is Steph Curry's had 2 50-point games now this year. He had, I think, 52 earlier this year and then 50 tonight, and they lost both of them. And Scott Van Pelt had this incredible stat right after the game where he pointed out that while the Warriors are 0-2 in Steph's 50-point games, the NBA as a whole, when a player scores 50 or more, the team is 18-2. And usually 50-point games lead to victories. And I guess I don't want Steph's prime year. This is one of his last years where he's going to be this damn good. I just don't want it to be squandered, man. And so when I keep seeing Anthony Lamb and these, God damn it, man, I just don't want them. They don't belong on the court with Steph. Like Steph deserves that 5th title, and I want him to get it. We'll see what happens, man. So,
all right, brother. Have a good night.
Love you, man. All right.
Love you too, bro. All right, the great Cy Satsis. All right, let's hit the chat one more time. John Boitnott says, class of 92 SI. Go Cats, get them Cats. Go get them Cats. Love you, brother. There you go. John Boitnott, class of 92. That means 4 years behind me. I was class 88. John says, LOL, Ryan's a good man. Okay. All right. His brother and I played lacrosse together in high school. That I can tell you. Man, what a day. What a day. And I have grinded today, man. I have seriously grinded. Remix channel says, Larry, grinding. All right, let's finish up strong with our sponsors. Hey, Pig and a Pickle, check them out in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in Marin. They're also open 5 days a week in Emeryville. If you're like me and you live out in the East Bay, check them out in Emeryville. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue you're going to find in the Bay Area. Amazing brisket, amazing pulled pork. How about a little video where you can watch both? And we can't, of course, forget our good friends at telmetrics.co, TELMETRIX.co. Basically, if you say, what is Telmetrics? Well, it's a great place for you to go. It's a website where if you want to rehabilitate your own injuries, if you're a weekend warrior, you get hurt over the weekend. Like I kind of wrenched my back the last couple of days. And you know what? I may want to go to telmetrics.co and see how I can help myself rehabilitate. And here's a little video from Telmetrics. And last but certainly not least, our good friends at the New York Style Sausage Company. And a couple people have been asking, hey, is Larry in Scottsdale? Because behind me, I have a Scottsdale wrap, which you can't see right now because I'm the only person in the room. But no, I'm back from Scottsdale, but they did support our trip to Scottsdale, and they are a proud sponsor of our show. And let's get a word here from New York Style Sausage.
So New York Style Sausage was started over 7 years ago. We are the largest producer of fresh Italian sausage on the West Coast.
What makes our sausage in New York Style is really the recipe came from back east, from New York, from Connecticut.
If you look at all of our labels, there's maximum 4 or 5 ingredients, which we're really proud of.
There's no preservatives, no MSG, fresh in, fresh out.
The pork comes in fresh, goes out fresh. There's never any freezing throughout the process. We've always used fine quality cuts. We're never going to deter from that. It's one of the reasons why our sausage is so good. I guarantee you put our sausage up against anybody else's from a flavor standpoint, no one will beat it, hands down.
And do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Go buy a package of the New York Style Italian sausage. Guaranteed you will love it. Guaranteed.
All right, welcome back to the Krueger Show as we're in the final moments of our live stream. 2.5 hours into our live stream. It is 12:33 in the morning. I'd like to thank everybody who's gone the distance with us today. Bouncer says, can you get Pasquale on the show? Pasquale's coming on the show. We're going to get him on. G. Martinez says, creepy wink. You'd love Pasquale. He's the real deal. Wood Pit 420. No, never go against the sausage, Fredo. Sean wants JTA back. Warriors need to get JTA back this offseason. Him and Damian Lee on veteran minimums right now. Yeah, that one is the one that really didn't make any sense. Why get rid of Damian Lee? Damian Lee gave you a lot of scoring off the bench. Seems like they miss him at times this year. That was kind of a weird decision. That was a weird one. Tammy McDaniel's just absolutely all over me. Larry, you need to ask Kerr the tough question. Break some stories. Let's go, Larry. Damn, Tammy, you're all over me. Look at this. Eric L. Light the beam. Fuck the beam. Goddamn Kings. Are the Warriors even going to make the playoffs? Oh, my God. If they don't make the playoffs and the Kings do, I got to hear my brother overall, all the entire playoff run, light the beam. I'll say this. If the Warriors lose and it's and the Kings make it, which obviously the Kings are going to make it. But if the Warriors miss the playoffs, I'm rooting for the Kings. I'm all in. I'll be like every night, light the beam. Yes. But until then, fuck the beam. Celts Chronicles, the Warriors without a couple more big men is like church without God. Bouncers. Screw you, Larry. LOL. Senior softball games. Love it, Larry. All right, guys. Great stuff, man. A lot of fun today. Hope you enjoyed it. What's coming up tomorrow on the Krug Show? Let me double check the schedule. See exactly what we got going tomorrow. I believe, tomorrow, we're going to be on with Vish. Vish is stopping by tomorrow night, right around 5:30 or 6 o'clock. So my kid's playing baseball tomorrow afternoon. So I think that's at 3. So as soon as that game's over, I'm going to come home, and maybe around 6, me and Vish will sit down and chop it up on the Niners. Friday, I believe Jordan Elliott is going to be by. I got to coordinate with Wayne Breezy to see if we can get Wayne Breezy on this week. And then over the weekend, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what we're doing yet. Might be headed to, Home Depot. Not sure if I'll have enough time. Okay, that's my Will Ferrell. Here we go from Vicky Pellich. Krug Show on fire in Fuego. Oh man, Eric Ellis says you got to be happy for the Kings, Larry. I am. I'm definitely happy. Bouncer, Larry, come to the beam side of the force. Yeah, senior softball games. Night, dude. Great show. Thank you, man. Tammy McDaniel, Larry Legend. All right, Tammy, we're all feeling good. Ashley, if you're still with us, I just want to say once again, I'm so sorry for your tragedy, but you're in my thoughts, you're in my prayers. Until tomorrow, folks, have a great night, and I'll sign off the way I used to sign off on the radio. Larry Krueger, often wrong, seldom in doubt.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to hassle. Yeah, we ain't never fall back. Hold our ground where we at.